at you kids.
Me too.
I wish I knew how to quit eating bugs.
This seems so
Very fun.
There's no place like home.
I'm gonna make him an offer down with you.
Welcome to another episode of Gone with the Wind. I am your host, Malcolm, as always, and today we are going to talk Oscar nomination predictions. But before that, got a great bunch of people here. Got Dan. Dan, how's it going?
Oh, it's great. This is my Super Bowl. If the Patriots can't be in the Super Bowl, the Oscars is my Super Bowl season, and this is like trying to predict the Super Bowl when you're predicting your Oscar nominations. And so I feel bad if I don't get these right. And tomorrow I'll know.
Yeah. But also we've got Dylan. Dylan, how's it going?
It's going well. Yeah, like this is my Super Bowl too. I think picking the winners is somehow a lot easier because you have so much to build up to that. Whereas picking the nominees, it's like you now have to go 5 out of sometimes 100 films or something to pick from. So like this to me is like studying for a big math test, not knowing what's going to be on the quiz. You know what I mean? But I do love it. It's so much fun just throughout the year from literally April till now, just looking at all these movies, seeing different trends and kind of putting some trends to rest too and seeing new trends arise. Like that's always the most fun of Oscar morning. The snubs and the surprises are the most fun part. So, missing some predictions is always a little bit fun in a way because you get a much less predictable Oscar nomination morning. So I'm excited for this and excited to talk to all of you.
But Chad, it was also here. Chad, how are you going?
I mean, speaking of snubs, I don't know how the Oscars are going to go, but if you go back to 2001, how the hell did Derek Zoolander not win Male Model of the Year? Hansel? I mean, come on now. Are you kidding me? I guess he was hot that year. No, I usually kind of get into the Oscars like really late, and then I kind of like look at like what Dylan's doing. I'll look at Gold Derby. I cheat a lot. I see kind of like what is hot right now, and then I try to get on that. But sometimes I do have like gut feelings that I try to go towards, and I go, you know what? It doesn't really matter if I'm wrong. But these are kind of the things that I want to see, and I think they could make it. So sometimes I'll throw things like that on there, maybe in the 5th spot or something like that.
But yeah, before we get into that, just because I want to get this out the way, and because I'm not going to just hold it off until next week, I just completely forgot the Razzies nominations were coming. Because I knew that they were always the day before the Oscars. I just completely forgot they were coming, just because I really don't care enough about them. I'm going to go through them because why not? They're still an award, even though they're mean spirited. But for screenplay, the nominations that they have is Blonde, Disney's Pinocchio, Good Morning, which apparently was a thing, Jurassic World Dominion, and Morbius. Dan, what are your thoughts about the worst screenplay for the Razzies?
Well, if this has any indication of worst movie, they're doing pretty good. Except for Blonde, I actually gave a positive review to.
But Dylan, what are your thoughts about worst screenplay?
Yeah, I was talking to you guys before we went live, and I was like, there's always one movie that I feel like ends up being a contender for both Razzies and Oscars. And I think while Ana de Armas was not nominated for a Razzie, spoiler alert, I do think Blonde is that movie this year where it's like so polar opposites, where some people in the industry respect some of the crafts and some of the performances in Blonde. Also, Blonde is shortlisted for makeup and hairstyling at the Oscars. But then you have something like the Razzies nominating it pretty much everywhere but Best Actress and text, like a worst screenplay and some other categories. So it's like the Hillbilly Elegy or the House of Gucci. Like every year there's a movie where it's like they're getting Razzies and Oscar nominations. That's kind of interesting. So that's this year's. Otherwise, yeah, like I've never heard of Good Morning, but the other 4 I've seen. Actually, I haven't seen Blonde, but the other 3 I've seen. Yeah, they're all in my bottom 5 of the year. So it checks.
Jurassic Park, though, could be, or Jurassic World could be in the
that's
CGI visual effects.
It is listed for visual effects as well. I didn't think of that. Yep, you're right.
But Chad, what are your thoughts about the worst screenplay?
I've seen none of those, but it's nice to see. I guess the Razzies are not Morbin, so there you
Yeah, and for me, it's like all these kind of make sense, but it's just one of those ones that, and I'll get into Good Morning when we get to the next category, but because it's actually like the person who directed it is, it makes sense why it might be in this category, but with Blonde,
I see.
it's one of those ones like it was adapted by a novel which already was very controversial, and I think that is the red one for worst screenplay because, from what I understand, the actual way that it was adapted is the same way it was written in the book, which was already the book was already very controversial. So it's just the red one here for me. But anyway, moving on to worst director. We've got Judd Apatow for The Bubble, Colson Baker, who is also known as Machine Gun Kelly and Mod Sun Morning, Andrew Dominic for Blonde, Daniel Espinosa for Morbius, and Robert Zemeckis for Pinocchio. Dylan, what are your thoughts on worst director?
Yeah, I mean, this is an interesting category too because you have Oscar-nominated directors, not this year, but like Robert Zemeckis made some of the best films ever, but he has been on a pretty bad losing streak, so I see why they're putting him there. But Andrew Dominic as well. I mean, Assassination of Jesse James, a very successful Oscar film, and now he's here for Blonde. The Machine Gun Kelly thing doesn't surprise me. I when you mentioned Good Morning, I was like, what is this? I looked it up. I don't even know how it got nominated when only 7 critics saw it. It has a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes with only 7 critic reviews. So, it's probably a bad film, yeah, but it's only 7 people's opinion. I don't know how the Razzie voting body, I don't know how it works, but he's a celebrity who did a stoner flick. Like, I feel like it's not supposed to be a good movie. So like that feels like the outlier. Whereas I feel like the other 4 films here were intended to be good films. Like they set out to make good films and then didn't. Whereas a Machine Gun Kelly movie, I don't think he necessarily intended to make a masterpiece with that, but hey, nominate him against 4 other directors. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, no, I think every year at the Razzies is always that random movie which no one's really heard about, or because I think last year for me at least it was that Diana the musical from Netflix.
Which it's I know we don't want to get into the debate of whether it's a movie or not, but it's like a filmed version of a stage show that closed off on Broadway 2 years ago, and now you're nominating him for a Razzie for Worst Picture. I'm like, I don't know.
But Chad, what are your thoughts about the worst director lineup?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have too many thoughts. Just like the last category, I haven't seen any of these films. But it just sucks that Robert Zemeckis kind of went the way that he did. I guess. Hopefully he can turn it around one time and have a comeback. But that's kind of like the only glaring one that I'm like, that sucks because he's made some of my favorite films of all time. So
Yeah, I mean, Chad, I'm just curious how you went through all of 2022 without seeing Morbius once. I've got a jealous of you. I kind of wish I never
I'm
saw
also
Morbius
not Morbin,
once.
so
And you don't have Netflix? You couldn't see Blonde?
I almost
didn't
watched
care
Blonde, but
to.
it's so long. It's so long, and that's another thing we'll talk about with Oscar nominations too. There's some nominees I haven't seen because a majority of the nominations are at least 2.5 hours. Some of the movies up for Best Picture are 3 hours, or at least one of them, and then there's another that might be. But it's crazy. If you're gonna marathon these 10 films in a day, you're gonna need more than a day to do it. So.
Yeah, and it's one of those ones like for me with the worst director. These once again make sense. Like I wanted to like The Bubble more than what I did, but it just wasn't good. But yeah, Dan, what are your thoughts for worst director?
I just couldn't hear the second one, but I mean, this is par for the course here.
But yeah, but now to the category where the Razzies really don't take seriously is worst screen couple. And you've got Colson Baker, Machine Gun Kelly, and Mod Sun for Good Morning. Both real life characters in the fallacious White House bedroom scene from Blonde. Tom Hanks and his latex-laden face and ludicrous accent from Elvis.
Oh.
Andrew Dominic and his issues with women in Blonde. And the 2 365-day sequels, both released in 2022. But
God.
Chad,
Why
what are your
make a
thoughts?
sequel?
What are your thoughts for worst
I
screen
mean,
couple?
I think it's silly. I don't usually pay attention to the Razzies, but that's not kind of funny that they like take like not actual like just two people, and they just have fun with it and make jokes, even if it is kind of mean spirited. But I think a lot of those, even like the Tom Hanks one, like are like kind of the biggest complaints of those films a lot of the times. So yeah, makes sense.
And I'm going to go back a little bit because we did have Brian bring up that he's surprised that David O. Russell while didn't get nominated for Best Director. I don't think those movies were really bad. Like I enjoyed Don't Worry Darling for what we got, and Amsterdam was
Right.
and yeah. And also disagree with Chris saying that Don't Worry Darling should have got more Razzies, but there's some of that I think they maybe should have, but
Don't Worry Darling's not good, but it's competent enough. Like the Razzies is going for something even more extreme than that wasn't that good. Like that was a flop. It was more like, oh no, those were like almost the kind of like so bad it's good. Like almost like we get entertainment watching how bad they are. Except for like Blonde, which was like more because they thought it was like problematic. But like Pinocchio, Morbius, those kind of movies, it's like you can kind of sit back and almost not really laugh at them, but you're amused by their badness. Whereas Don't Worry Darling's like that was underwhelming. I think there's a difference.
I think the controversy behind the scenes leading up to the movie is what kind of got people kind of not going on board with the movie. I don't think the movie's that bad. I think it really has a message to say, especially about trolls and certain people that I don't really want to get into right now.
Oh yeah. But it's just one of those ones. Like when it comes to the Razzies, the only category I really don't take seriously is the worst screen couple because I can't remember what year, but there's definitely some years of which so like
the best year was Adam Sandler and Adam Sandler for Jack and Jill. That was my favorite.
Oh,
it was like that because that's funny. Like if you're looking at the Razzies as like kind of like a comedic show, like haha, okay, we can poke fun at the worst because I think it's important to acknowledge the worst because otherwise, what does it mean when you acknowledge the best? So I do think that it's valuable as long as you don't approach it from a FU phase. It's more of just like you guys, you silly people.
And my argument to that is not really an argument, but I say this: these people put a lot of effort, a lot of time, a lot of money into making these projects. In case of Morbius, it was delayed a year to 2 years, and so they changed things in the movie because of that. And so I decided this year, and I was on the other hand that I wouldn't do worst of the year this year because I'm not going to bash anybody's projects and. Because I know it took a lot of effort and hard work and money and whatever and time to do them. So I'm not bashing people's work anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, and that's one of those ones like
about a bad movie. I have to if it's a bad movie and I have to write a review, then I have to write a bad review. That's the only other.
Yeah, I mean it's just one of those ones like I generally don't pay attention to the worst. I just like talking about the Razzies because their nominations entertaining like for a good period of time. It's just one of those ones. But Dan, for worst, what are your thoughts about the worst screen couples?
What did they do? Have two for Blonde in there?
Yeah.
Well, it's both real life characters in the Felicia's White House bedroom scene in Blonde. I barely remember that scene. Is it?
What are you talking about, John F. Kennedy? Are you saying he's Felicia's?
Yeah, I don't know what they're meaning by that at all. But Dylan, what are your thoughts on worst screen couple?
I mean, we've said it all. I think it's like the most like comedic category that it's like not really recognizing talent by any means. It's just kind of pointing out funny, like kind of pop culture, like headline, clickbaity type titles for things. So the Tom Hanks prosthetics aren't bad. I mean, it's gonna probably win the film an Oscar. It's the accent that I agree with, but the latex face, I mean, like it was impressive makeup. They made him look like him for sure.
Yeah, and onto the category which I really there's at least one I really disagree with, and it's worst supporting actor because you got Pete Davidson, and in brackets they put cameo role for Good Morning, Tom Hanks for Elvis, Xavier Samuel for Blonde, Mod Sun for Good Morning, Evan Williams for Blonde. I do not remember who Xavier Samuel and Evan Williams who are actually in Blonde, but Tom Hanks is not
Charlie Chaplin,
one of the
Charlie Chaplin
top.
Jr.
Yeah, mate, quite possibly actually. But Tom Hanks is not one of the 5 worst supporting actors of the year for sure. Like, say what you want about his performance in Elvis, it was actually pretty good. Like, I actually liked him. But Dan, what are your thoughts about the worst supporting actors?
Yeah, Tom Hanks gives one of the best supporting performances of the year. He's just playing against type for Tom Hanks. So he's playing a sinister, nasty character who took advantage of Elvis. So people are perceiving him to be nasty and bad and the performance to be bad. He is playing a bad guy. He has to play that character that way. And it's not a bad performance. It's still probably in the top 10 of best supporting actor performances of the year. It still has a slim shot of possibly sneaking in the Oscars. Probably not, but there's a slim chance.
But Dylan, what are your thoughts about worst supporting actor?
I've only seen Elvis of these 5 nominees, these 3 films, but I'm in the I don't like Tom Hanks and Elvis camp. I think it's almost a little too over the top. But the problem is the film is also over the top, but Austin's performance is kind of so grounded and like true to the character, whereas Tom's in comparison feels a little bit out of place. But I get what he was going for the context of the movie and how big and bold and in your face the movie is. So I wouldn't say he's one of the 5 worst supporting actors for sure. Like, he doesn't deserve the Razzie nomination, but I'm in the camp where I was not a fan of his performance. But Dan, you make a good point that he is a villain, so maybe I'm supposed to dislike him. But there are also
he's
villains.
The narrator. He's an unreliable narrator.
Yeah, but there are also
Unreliable
villains.
narrator.
Yeah, there are also villains though that I love their performances, like Mia Goth and Pearl. Like I lean in every time she's on screen. And I also think it's because the accent is so extreme that it feels a little SNL-y. Like the whole I'm going to put on this whole accent here, Santa Claus. Like it's a little too much where it gets a little distracting.
Daniel
But
Craig's accent and Glass Onion isn't over the top. Kentucky Fried accent that he's got
it
going
is.
on.
Yeah, I just think it works because everyone in that cast is doing that too. So I don't know. I get it. But it wouldn't be in my worst though of the year for sure.
Yeah, I mean, there's part of me that thinks that the Razzies nominates these big name celebrities to see if they can entice them to come and be a good sport and come and accept the award, because why not? Because in this category, he's the only one I saw Pete Davidson. Tom Hanks is the only one I actually know, and like I've not heard of the other 3 people at all. Like, I've seen Blonde, and I barely remember who they played.
I forget those guys too. Myself, when I saw Blonde, I forget who they are. I'm surprised.
But Chad, what are your thoughts for best supporting actor?
I was just gonna say, when you said Pete Davidson, I almost had a heart attack because I thought you were talking about Bodies, 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 and then I was like, oh, of course he'd be in a Machine Gun Kelly movie. So never mind. But as far as the Tom Hanks thing goes, it's just an interesting kind of thing when you have a Baz Luhrmann film, because he both has like a lot of like really brilliant stuff in it that could make it Oscar worthy, like Elvis totally is. Like, look at all those potential nominations it's going to get. But then, you have a lot of the crazy, silly stuff. Like even in Moulin Rouge, you have a lot of the stuff with Jim Broadbent and all this wacky, crazy stuff. And it's like, it's really crazy, but like, it's also kind of good in a way and not good in another way. And I feel like, people could be on either side of it. It depends, because you have Tom Hanks doing a lot of the really wacky, crazy, like cocaine-fueled stuff that Baz Luhrmann likes to lean hard into. So, I can totally see somebody like giving it a Razzie or giving it an Oscar. It's one of those performances. So,
yeah. But moving on, we've got worst supporting actress, Adria Arjona for Morbius. I probably butchered that name. Lorraine Bracco from Disney's Pinocchio, Penelope Cruz from the 355, Bing Bing Fan from the 355 and the King's Daughter, and Mia Sorvino from Lamborghini, The Man Behind the Legend, which is a movie apparently that exists.
That's odd. I reviewed that, Malcolm. I reviewed that.
Is it good, Dan?
No. It's not good.
But yeah, Dan, what are your thoughts on worst supporting actress?
Yeah, they're getting some of these 355 people in here because that's a bad movie. I'm glad to see that, because 355 is not good. What the heck were these women doing in this movie? Lupita Nyong'o, Jessica Chastain. I mean, come on. What are you doing in that movie? Yeah, these are good people for that. That's a good group of people.
Dylan, what are your thoughts on worst supporting actress?
Yeah, I haven't seen all of these, but Lorraine Bracco, she's near and dear to my heart. Obviously, Goodfellas, Sopranos. She's Dr. Melfi. But that that seagull every time, it's like they always add something to try to make it different from the original. But adding that seagull character in Pinocchio every time she opened her mouth, I was like, oh, this poor woman. Like what they did for her, I felt so bad. It's like her voice is already raspy enough. Now you have her squawking like a seagull. It gave me a headache. But hey, I mean, if she wins an award for it, at least she gets another award under her belt for all the awards she didn't get for Sopranos. So maybe that's making up for lost time. I don't know.
I just wish I was a fly in the wall when she was being told, like, you want to come voice a seagull in this movie?
Yeah, I wonder how that negotiation went down. Like, here's the deal, Lorraine. This is what you're going to do. Yeah, I don't know.
But Chad, what are your thoughts on worst supporting actress?
Well, I mean, it just kind of looks like they just really cling to like specific movies, and they're like, let's just nominate all of these people in this movie I hated. But I gotta say, the Oscars kind of does that as well, just in the reverse. But I never saw any of these, but I remember like at the very beginning of the year when the 355 was like coming out, there was a trailer for it. It has like such a stacked cast. I'm like really kind of baffled that it wasn't good. Apparently. I haven't seen it, so I can't say if it's good or not. But Dan said no.
So
No.
So when it
Two
comes
Oscar winners, Lupita Nyong'o, Jessica Chastain are in it.
Yeah,
so
Penelope
Cruz.
Cruz. She just got nominated for it.
I mean, yeah. I mean, when it comes to the 355, like I've enjoyed the movie a little bit more than everyone else. Like to me, it's still. I'm not saying it's a 5-star movie and was in my top 10 of the year, but like it was a fun movie. And, I don't think the acting performances were bad in it. And so I kind of disagree with them being there for that, but it is what it is. But moving on to worst remake, ripoff, and sequel, we've got Blonde, both 365 sequels this day and the next 365 days. Disney's Pinocchio, Firestarter, and Jurassic World Dominion. Dylan, what are your thoughts on worst remake, ripoff, and sequel?
I haven't seen it, but I don't know what Blonde is remaking or prequelizing or spinning off. I mean, I guess it's like ripoff.
It's one of those ones. Like I think they tend to put book adaptations in there as.
Okay. Well, I mean, yeah, fine. I mean, again, these films they keep coming up. Yeah, nothing much else to say except I didn't even know the 365 Days made a sequel, let alone 2. That's alarming. But hey, Netflix got to make that money off of their porn, So.
But Chad, what are your thoughts for worst remake, ripoff, and sequel?
You rattled them off pretty quickly. Let's see. Oh, I got it. Yeah, no, I still have seen none of these. I remember being kind of curious about Firestarter because I remember that because it sucks because it's cool that a horror movie gets nominated, but at the Razzies. Which really sucks. But then again, I just remember hearing so much stuff about how Zac Efron was like, really just kind of like he didn't even seem like he wanted to be there, and useless remake, unnecessary kind of a deal. And it's like one of those where it's like it could have had a lot of potential because not many people talk about the original Firestarter with Drew Barrymore. So that kind of sucks. I've heard just like the worst things about the rest. So yeah, no, it makes sense to me. Well, except for Dan liking blondes, I can't really say about that one. So he might be mad about that. I'm not sure.
I mean, it's one of those ones like. I mean, I'm kind of with Dylan on this. Like, Blonde is the weird one for remake, ripoff, and sequel. Even though, yes, they tend to throw book adaptations in there for whatever reason, and I think that's kind of what the rip-off is kind of signifying, like adaptation. I don't know, but I mean, look, I'm in the camp that I really enjoy Jurassic World Dominion. I get it was not a good it's still. Didn't really it still wasn't really a good sequel, but I think there are other sequels I think should be here but I haven't
how about Thor the Dark World?
I mean
Where the
I
hell
think nothing
is Thor the Dark World?
I don't know.
I'm sorry, Malcolm. Where is Thor: The Dark World here?
I mean,
That
I
is
think you,
garbage.
I think you mean for Love and Thunder. For Dark World came out a few years ago.
That's what I meant. You know, like,
I-
why do I?
I didn't even
2013.
realize
Time.
you would have been right either way, Dan.
Well, I keep getting them two mixed up, and I don't know why. I don't know why I keep getting those two mixed up, Malcolm. I have no idea.
Look,
This is about the third time this has happened, and I don't understand. Thor: Love and Thunder should be here.
yeah, I mean, like I slightly disagree. Like I did enjoy it, but I don't think it was in one of the 5 worst, for sure. But,
Yeah, I like Thor: Love and Thunder. I don't love it, but I like it.
But anyway, moving on to worst actress, we've got Ryan Kira Armstrong from Firestarter, Bryce Dallas Howard from Jurassic Park Dominion. And that's the way they put it in Razzies, even though it's Jurassic World Dominion. But Diane Keaton for Mac and Rita, Kaya Scoldalario, I definitely butchered that, the King's Daughter, and Alicia Silverstone for the Requiem, which I've not even heard of till now. But Chad, what are your thoughts for worst actress?
Yeah, I mean, 3 of these actresses I really, really like. Bryce, Diane, and Alicia. The other 2 I haven't heard of, and I've seen none of these movies, and 3 of them I haven't heard of. So maybe good job. I don't know.
Yeah. Look, I've seen the trailer for Firestarter. I think the kid actress looks really good in the trailers that I've seen. I kind of feel bad for her because she's only 12 years old. I kind of feel bad for her. It's like, you know
Yeah.
what? People,
What are you giving her
this
harassment for?
this big group of people really hate your performance so much they're going to nominate you for worst actress.
That's a
Like
really good point, Malcolm. It's like kind of like leave her alone and like maybe let her career flourish. Like, you know,
this, yeah,
if it's her first role, you know.
yeah. As far as
But
I know,
maybe bad publicity can be good. I don't know.
yeah. I mean, it's one of
No?
those ones like, yeah, like. I'm
What's
just
her face
quickly-
was in Crawl. I loved her in Crawl.
Yeah, Kaya Scodelario.
Kaya
I was going to say, I'm a
I
huge
love
fan
Crawl.
of her. Yeah, she's
Yeah,
the girl in
man.
Crawl. Yeah, she's great.
Yeah,
She was in Crawl. I mean, hey, they gotta nominate somebody. That's how you gotta look at it. The Rats, they're gonna nominate somebody. But why a 12-year-old girl? Come on now, guys. Be a little bit
Yeah.
grown up here and not be picking on little kids.
I mean, yeah, that's Jake Lloyd's career in Phantom Menace. I mean, look what happened to him after all the negative
Dude.
press. I mean, that could
Oh.
end up happening here. Luckily, Firestarter wasn't on the same level of like visibility as Phantom Menace, thank God. Because if it had been like this huge movie, I mean, if this was, if she had done a kid performance in like Avatar or Top Gun or something and was bad and got nominated, like that could ruin a career.
yeah. So looking at her career, like Firestarter was like her first role. Like she was in the Art of Racing in the Rain. She was in Chapter 2.
Oh.
She played Victoria Fuller.
Okay.
She was young Antonia in Black Widow. I'm not too sure which character that is. She was Elma Gardner in, I think, this American Horror Story double feature series. And she was also in The Old Way. So,
Antonia is Taskmaster, so she's the young girl.
yeah.
Oh.
But yeah, but moving on to worst actor, we got Colson Baker for Machine Gun Kelly for Good Morning, Pete Davidson for Marmaduke, Tom Hanks again for Disney's Pinocchio, Jared Leto for Morbius, and Sylvester Stallone for Samaritan. Look, in this case, like I like Tom. I enjoyed Pinocchio enough, but it still ended up really low on my list when I ranked the 2022 movies. But like Tom, I actually do agree with Tom Hanks being here because I think he was pretty much sleepwalking through the Pinocchio movie, and it's not really his fault because a lot of his performances he was acting against nothing pretty much but it's just one of those ones like some people can do it convincingly, some people really can't, and Tom Hanks is just one of those ones that just couldn't do it convincingly. But Dan, any thoughts on worst actor?
Yeah, I want to say something about something that I haven't had a chance to talk to. You know, now I forget what the heck. Look, no, I know what it is. I know what it is. People forget Tom Hanks had COVID while making Elvis. So when he was laying in a bed half dead, he might have actually been laying in a bed half dead. So you can't stop picking on Tom Hanks. That's all I have to say. He's America's dad. Come on now, Razzie. He get an Oscar nomination this year for Man Called Otto.
Is it too late to cast Dan as Anger in Inside Out 2?
Yeah. I mean, I have to say, Dan seems really invested in the races for some people that we really don't care about them. But
I don't care. I just have
fun. Just care about them picking on Tom Hanks. But Dylan, what are your thoughts about Worst Actor?
Yeah, it's kind of like the thing where it's like, you're America's dad, so we could pick on you a little bit. Like, Tom Hanks doesn't care if he gets nominated for Razzies. He's probably like, bring it. Come on. And also Pete Davidson, another double nominee for Good Morning and now for Marmaduke, which I have purposely avoided because I heard it's like the worst thing ever made, and not in an entertaining way. Like, it's that bad. It's popping up on my Netflix all the time because I've been watching so many animated movies that it like keeps recommending it, and I'm like, nope. So many critics I know hated it, but like, I haven't seen all these movies, but Sylvester Stallone, I heard Samaritan was not terrible, and he wasn't terrible in it. Like, it just kind of feels like, oh, rotten movie, big star, let's pick on him.
It's not good, Dylan. It's not good, Dylan.
Of all these performances, though, Jared Leto, yes, good job.
Yeah. And Chris, I have no idea what freaking kid from Dominion you're talking about. So if you know the name of the person you're talking about, then let us know, because I kind of do agree that Bryce Dallas Howard doesn't belong in Worst Actress, but I can't think of anyone else that should be there for Worst Actress over her. So, but Chad, what are your thoughts for the Worst Actor lineup?
Let's see if we do it. Let's see if Jared Leto can do Oscar-nominated Razzie, Oscar, Razzie. Let's see if he just keeps that whole alternating gig up.
What's the opposite of an EGOT? A Razgot? I don't know.
You know what should happen if Tom Hanks wins? Him and Robert Zemeckis, if they should both show up and get show their trophies together. Since they both won for Forrest Gump together.
Yeah.
Well,
career moment.
That's the thing. It's not unusual for celebrities to go and accept the Razzies. Like Halle Berry did it. I think Sandra Bullock did it once.
I think Halle Berry did it the same year she won for Monsters Ball, right? Or around the same time.
Yeah.
Like,
she won Catwoman in Monsters Ball the same year.
I don't know if it was Catwoman. Okay, it might have been a few years later, but she had just won the Oscar and then went to go accept her Razzie.
Yeah. Cool. But and moving on to the last one, which is Worst Picture. Probably don't need to go into too much in depth. We've talked enough about a lot of these movies already, but the five that are in for Worst Picture, we've got Blonde, Pinocchio, Good Morning, The King's Daughter, and Morbius. I still haven't seen Good Morning and The King's Daughter, but the other five are pretty much standard. Dylan, what are your thoughts on Worst Picture?
Yeah, we've said all about the ones I've seen. I've only seen Morbius and Pinocchio, and I don't like them. They're in my bottom five, like I said. So, yeah, I mean, fine.
Chad, what are your thoughts for Worst Picture?
Before today, I'd never heard of Good Morning or The King's Daughter, I've heard so many things about Pinocchio. It's why I just haven't taken the time to actually check it out all the way through. I watched the first couple scenes or whatever, and I was like, do I want to waste my time right now? It's kind of a deal. Maybe I'll check it out at some point. I'll have to do a ranking of all the live action remakes and all that stuff. But yeah, Blonde and Morbius, I do know that there are defenders of actually both of those. So maybe a little bit divisive there, but maybe not. I don't know. I don't know how many. I don't know what the scales are like there for those two films.
I
gave a positive review of Blonde, and there were
maybe you need to rewatch it. I'm just kidding.
There were elements of Morbius that I liked. The post-credit scenes really freaking knocked it down for me, but there were elements in Morbius I liked. Pinocchio, the whale. Why change the whale? Why make it some kind of a beast? I mean. And some of that type of stuff, why they changed some of that stuff in Pinocchio, I don't know why they did that. There were these movies. I mean, look, I guess I'm looking at things as a half full rather than half empty. Good Morning, I never heard of. I did hear about The King's Daughter. Never had a chance to see that though. So I would say if I had to vote for one of these, Good Morning, because that's the one that I haven't seen that I kind of halfway like the other ones. Not loved, but probably gave them a bad review, but not like terrible reviews.
Yeah, it's one of those ones. But we've spent enough time talking about.
It's your fault, Malcolm.
Well, I mean,
Malcolm was Morbin. He was.
I mean, it is my fault. Like, as I said at the start, like, I don't care enough about the Razzies who just push them off to next week when we will be talking about the Oscars. So I've decided to just throw them here, get them out of the way, then we can continue talking about good movies.
Yes, let's get into the good stuff. Let's do
but
it.
yeah, so moving on, we're going to do our Oscar nomination predictions. So how we're going to do it is we're going to take turns sort of reading out what 5 we've got for the thing. And then if someone else has it, just say yes or no. And then if we all match, then we don't need to continue sort of talking about it. But so I'll start it off. So the 5 I've got for live action short. And look, when it comes to the shorts, like I just tend to just go for what the 5 is a Gold Derby is like. I don't always sort of read into what short. I don't know much about these shorts, but so for live action short, I've got Le Purple, An Irish Goodbye, The Red Suitcase, Warsha, and Nakam. So anyone else have anything different other than those 5?
Or I got all the same ones, Malcolm.
I didn't have Nakam. I put the Lone Wolf. Shorts, it's so tough. I was looking through just like reading synopsises on each, reading some reviews on each, but I should say this now. This is the first year ever that I haven't looked at Gold Derby or any other prediction like for your consideration show. Haven't looked at any of that before making my predictions. I did it solely off of precursors and gut and word of mouth from the Academy. Like that's all I based it off of. So the fact that 4 of the 5 that I picked are the Gold Derby 5, I feel okay about it. So yeah, I feel good.
That's pretty impressive for not looking at Gold Derby. That just means you're a pro.
I had it in different order though. I had Le Pupille, Irish Goodbye, then I had Warsha, Red Suitcase, Lone Wolf.
Yeah, I had Warsha and the Red Suitcase flipped, but other than that, it was exactly the same.
Yeah. Dan, what is the 5 that you have for best documentary short?
And I will preface this by saying I've seen 2 of these, Flag Makers and 38 at the Garden. But I have Flag Makers, The Elephant Whisperers, 38 at the Garden, How Do You Measure a Year, and Holding Moses.
That's the 5 I've got.
Same order too.
I got a few difference, but because again I have no idea. But I did have 38 at the Garden, Flag Makers. I had The Elephant Whisperers. I had Nuisance Bear. That had an animal in it. I was like, oh, animals are fun. The Martha Mitchell Effect was the other one I picked. Like I have no idea. 38 at the Garden I feel good on though. Like that's Linsanity was so popular at the time. I was such a Linsanity guy too. When I used to be a Knicks fan. So yeah, I was in the hype.
Yeah, I mean, as Abe would say, sometimes when it comes to the shorts, he thinks that they would go for the ones with the cooler titles, and that's kind of for why I went with How Do You Measure a Year, because it's kind of a really cool title. But Dylan, what is the 5 that you have for best animated short?
All right, this one I was like number 1, and then everything else was random. The first one I have is Save Ralph, the Taika Waititi short. I also have The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse. The Flying Sailor, those filmmakers have been nominated for a few short film categories over the years. Ice Merchants and New Moon. Those are the 5 I picked.
So I had 4 out of the 5. Chad, did you have full 5?
I had 4 out of his 5. I had 1 different.
What was the one difference that you had?
The one I had, an ostrich told me the world is fake, and I think I believe it. Just because it's a really long title, I hope that gets in.
And for me, the one difference that one I had, just because I really want, if it gets nominated, I really want to hear them have to say it at the Oscars. My Year of Dicks. Just because it'll be so cool just to hear one of the presenters have to say that title. And Dan, did you have all 5 that Dylan had? Yeah,
I had The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse, New Moon, Save Ralph, My Year of Dicks, and The Flying Sailor. Yeah, I just hope whoever the woman presenter, is not the one who has to say my year of dicks. I hope Riz Ahmed has to say it.
Hey, Riz Ahmed can enjoy dicks too. You can enjoy whatever you want.
But moving on to best international film, Chad, what 5 do you have for best international film?
I don't know how different this is. I think this one I tried to go a little different, but I went All Quiet, just because it's like a favorite and like BAFTA and all that stuff. Decision to Leave, Argentina 1985, The Quiet Girl, and then I threw in Holy Spider because I like that title.
Oh, cool.
Yep. So I had 3 out of the 5. I had All Quiet, Decision to Leave, Argentina 1985. The 2 different ones I threw in there, I put Close in there, and then I put the donkey movie EO. But Dan, do you have anything different?
Yeah, I got and I've been holding on to this for a while now, and I think I might have to change it to the Quiet Girl. Actually, I'm glad you said that, Chad. After this, I'm going to change it. I might have to change that right now. But I have seen Omar. I've seen all of these films, and they're all fantastic films. And I think people are sleeping on Saint Omar, but maybe I'm sleeping on it as well because I want to change it to The Quiet Girl.
And Dylan, anything different in international?
Yeah, I had like a mix of everyone. So I think the big 3 are all safe. I think All Quiet, Decision to Leave, Argentina 1985, especially after that Golden Globe win. And then I did put Close, even though it missed BAFTA. That made me a little scared, but I still think it'll get in. And then The Quiet Girl, because it did get BAFTA, and it not only got BAFTA, but it got the screenplay nomination at BAFTA, which meant like really good things. So I'm going Quiet Girl, the Irish film.
Oh yeah, no, it's one of those ones. Like I think Argentina 85 at this point is pretty safe, just because it did win the Golden Globe. And it's one of those ones. It's definitely one of the interesting things because, like it doesn't have Triple R to contend to because India decided to throw something else up. But moving on.
Oh wait, really quick to answer Chris's question in the comments, RRR is not counted because India did not submit it. They submitted a different film,
right?
So that sucks. Nope. But yeah,
unfortunately, RR can only get nominated in Best Picture, and it looks like Natu is going to get nominated for Best Song.
Yeah, it could get nominated for acting stuff, but I don't think it's on the radar enough.
Well,
it
director,
but it won't.
Director as well.
Potentially.
Yeah, we'll get to those categories eventually.
Sorry.
But moving on to best documentary, and this is one of those ones that like I don't watch a lot of documentaries at all, like, which is a shame. But I mean, I get there's probably a lot of good ones out there. But I kind of went with the 5 that it seems like it's looking that way as it is. So I went with All the Beauty and the Bloodshed, All That Breathes, Fire of Love, Navalny, and Moonage Daydream. Anyone else with anything different?
I have some different, and it's only because I've been burned by this category so many times. This category is infamous for snubbing the frontrunner. Last year, The Rescue and Summer of Soul were the frontrunners. The Rescue doesn't show up in the 5. A few years ago, Dick Johnson Is Dead, the frontrunner, doesn't show up in the 5. A few years ago, Jane, the number 1, doesn't get nominated. So like they just have a habit of just like I wonder if they watch Gold Derby and they're like, we're gonna pluck it out. I didn't know what the front runner was gonna be because I didn't look at Gold Derby, but All the Beauty and the Bloodshed is like the one that's getting the hype. It's the one that's out of all the festivals, the one that everyone's talking about. So I was like, you know what? Just because every single year they surprise me, I just left it out of my 5, and instead I put Descendant. So I have Fire of Love, All That Breathes, Navalny, The Territory, and Descendant, because I think those are, it's everything but All the Beauty and the Bloodshed. And I think Moonage Daydream is the most popular. And again, they snub the front runners all the time. So I'm just going with the bolder pick rather than the safer pick, only just because it happens to be every year. I might as well predict it this year.
Yeah, it's one of those ones. Like, I also have been burnt by that for the same reasons. So it's like, because I mean, I remember a few years ago, it was like everyone was sure that Won't You Be My Neighbor is going to get
another one. Won't You Be My Neighbor? And there was another one that year. 3 Identical Strangers, I think, got snubbed.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Don't get
both
me
of them
started.
That was
in the
such a
same
good
year.
movie.
They were number 1 and 2, and they both got snubbed. I couldn't believe it. And since then, I've had no faith in the. Obviously, they know what they're doing. It's a document.
No,
branch,
they're a bunch of weirdos.
But it's also like so weird that they always snub not just a frontrunner, the frontrunner.
So they already snubbed one though, Dylan. It's not even. It wasn't even in the long list.
Yes. What was it called?
Good Night Oppie.
Goodnight
It's
Oppie.
already
Yeah,
been
exactly.
snubbed.
Goodnight Oppie was like number 2 on Gold Derby a month ago.
Gone.
That's off.
So they already
not even
snubbed one.
short, not even
So-
shortlisted. So
Um,
They already did their snubbing. They don't need a
But-
snub anymore.
But anyway, Chad, did you have anything different in documentary?
No, I just had it like a little bit reversed. I had Navalny, Fire of Love, All That Breathes, All the Beauty and the Bloodshed, and Moon Age Daydream. I liked Moon Age Daydream, but the top 2 I really want to see. I didn't get a chance to see Navalny at Sundance, so.
Well, let me tell you something, guys. I've seen all these films, and Moon Age Daydream is the worst of the bunch. But because
Wow.
it's getting a lot of, it's just really hard to watch. It's really, the cinematography's not that good. It's just like an old kind of, a lot of old footage, archival footage that had bad lighting or whatever, and they made it into a movie. But I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying of this bunch, and I've seen every one of these and the ones that Dylan said. And I'll tell you right now, Dylan, you're making a mistake getting rid of All the Beauty and the Bloodshed because
listen, I
it
want to
is
put
the
it in.
number one. It's a front runner because it's the best one. It's phenomenal. It's got a great message, and it's going to win.
So was
better-
Won't You Be My Neighbor though? So Won't You Be My Neighbor
Wow.
was a lock to win before nomination.
That
day.
was
That's
so
why I'm
good.
so.
Oh my
I have
God.
PTSD. I think that's why I have PTSD because I was so confident. I put my super bet on it. I was like, I'm good, and it burned me. That's why I didn't want to look at Gold Derby because I didn't even know who the front runner was. But they could snub Fire of Love for all I know.
if they did that, I'd just go find these.
They
people and
snubbed The
start-
Rescue, and The Rescue was kind of like that
Assassinate them one by
inspirational
one.
nature documentary. The Territory is also a nature thing, so I don't know if they'll. I don't know. It's so. I don't know.
That was sad. The Territory is a sad movie. Descendant just the message. I couldn't get involved with the message as much as like what. Okay, this is what this is. But I'm telling you right now, All the Beauty and the Bloodshed, phenomenal movie. It barely missed my top 10 of the year. I usually get a doc on my list, but I missed this year. But I love Fire of Love as well. Oh God.
And Brian is talking about Senior. I don't think it was on the shortlist for a documentary, but it's also one of those ones. Maybe it didn't get the limited theatrical run that they need to be eligible for the Oscars as well. So, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Like I heard about that documentary. I haven't seen it myself. I'm surprised that it wasn't on the shortlist, but I think there's probably reasons for not being there. But anyway, moving on to animated feature. Dan, what is the 5 you've got?
Well, surprise, surprise. I have Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. I saw
What?
Michelle with shoes on. Puss in Boots, The Last Wish, Turning Red. And I'm going to go with the other stop motion one because I just think that it's got voice talent. It's got directed by Henry Selick. It's got a diversity thing going for it. And I think that's why I'm going to go for Wendell and Wild, even though I would love if My Father's Dragon got in there or Minions, The Rise of Gru, because I love those two movies. I'm going to go with Wendell and Wild instead on the 5.
Look, I wouldn't be surprised if Minions Rise of Gru somehow makes it in there, but as I mean, I haven't seen it, so I don't know about the quality of the
Good,
movie.
Malcolm. See it. Watch that movie.
It means I have to watch the Minions, and I don't care about those characters.
As someone who also had a vendetta, I like that movie. I gave it a positive review. It wasn't like a glaringly positive review, but I gave it a positive review.
But yeah, like those are exactly the same 5 that I've got as well. Because no, it's one of those ones because I think that, as I said yesterday when we were talking about the Annies, quite often with animated feature there's at least 3 like big 3 to 4 like big popular ones, and that's Pinocchio, Turning Red, Marcel, and Puss in Boots. And then there's always a random like either foreign film or like indie type film, and I think Wendell and Wild fits that mold perfectly. While I know Marcel is also an indie type movie, but it's also a big popular movie at the same time. Dylan, did you have anything different in animated?
Yeah, so the 4 that I'm sure we all have are those top 4. For the 5th slot, I was really toying around with it, and I don't really know because Minions got the PGA, which was like, okay, maybe it's gonna get in because PGA is really good at predicting this award. But when I looked at the Annie lineup, I kept seeing a movie popping up over and over again, and it's one that I forgot about, but I've always been meaning to check out, and it's been on the homepage of Netflix every time I look, and that's The Sea Beast. I haven't watched it, but I've heard really good things. It's always like on my Netflix watch list thing. I don't know if it's going to get nominated, but I figured, if Netflix is going to push something, I think Wendell and Wild and My Father's Dragon, I haven't seen as much of on Netflix in terms of promoting and marketing as much as The Sea Beast. They already have Pinocchio to market, so maybe they won't even get anything at all. Maybe it'll be like Inuo or, again, Minions. But I think if a Netflix movie might get in, I think The Sea Beast might have had a few more like under the radar fans, because Wendell and Wild, a lot of people are saying it's good, but it's not Henry Selick's best. And a lot of people from My Father's Dragon are saying it's good, but it's not Cartoon Saloon's best. And I think The Sea Beast, there's really nothing else to compare it to. So that's my bold pick. I don't think it will happen, but I was just, I had to pick something, and those four are so locked that the fifth slot, it's really up in the air. So I went with Sea Beast as my fifth.
Chad, did you have anything different in animated?
Yeah, no, I had the same top four in a slightly different order. But then the fifth spot, because I didn't really know where to go, and it doesn't feel like anybody really does. I have seen The Sea Beast, My Father's Dragon, and Wendell and Wilds. I've seen all three of them, and I just decided to kind of just go with my heart instead. And I went with My Father's Dragon because I think it's like the cutest and the sweetest of the three. It's got like Gaten Matarazzo in it, and Stranger Things, popularity and stuff like that. Maybe the sweetness of it will get it in there. I don't know. We'll see.
Oh yeah, no, it's one of those ones. Like I think just everyone agrees like that. At least the top four for this is Turning Red, Pinocchio, Puss in Boots, and Marcel. It's just that fifth spot which could go either way. Not yeah, and it's one of those ones like. I know Brian sort of says that like his top five and does include Minions. It's very rare that the Oscars go 5 for 5 for very popular type movies. Because I think it was a couple of years ago we thought that might have done that, but then they threw in an indie one in that in there. And he also brought up The Boss Baby. If Matt was here, he'll tell you exactly why. But I'm one of those ones. I think Boss Baby deserved to be nominated. I think it was a good animated movie of that year. Well, a lot of people don't agree.
No, the year itself wasn't a good year for animation, so Boss Baby slipped in there.
It was Coco and everything else.
Look, this year there's actually been a good year for animation. I mean, you could nominate 10 animated films.
I'll be honest. When I go to sit down and make my personal nominations of what I would pick, I might even omit one of the top four. Like, I really think it's such a strong year. And when you said stop motion, Dan, I thought you were going to say Mad God, because that would have been. I think that's the coolest nomination if it were to happen. And it's made by the guy who literally did like the special effects for Star Wars and stuff.
I did a documentary
for 30 years old. So, I don't know. I think that would be a cool nomination, but I don't think it will happen.
Now,
Politician and a Half would also be cool because Richard Linklater, they love him. But I don't know.
You know what? That brings me to something real quick, Malcolm. They could they do a docu-series like that, like Light and Magic from Disney Plus? Did that make the short list or the long list?
No.
It wasn't.
Remember OJ won that? Remember OJ won that a couple of years ago?
Yes, but I think since that OJ documentary, I think they changed the rules so that docu-series can't do that again.
Okay, all right. Just
because there's there's so much controversy the year OJ people whatever
the Jordan one, right? Didn't people want the Jordan one to get nominated?
The Last Dance, yeah.
I think people were calling for The Last Dance and all that. But I think the rules were changed since the OJ ones. I think there was a lot of controversy about that. But anyway, moving on to visual effects. Dylan, what is the 5 you have?
Yeah, so I went with. Okay, I'll just say them because there's a little crossover. Avatar: The Way of Water. It's probably the one that's going to win. Top Gun Maverick, another big tech, and The Batman. All three of those got BAFTA, Critics' Choice, and Visual Effects Society. Then I went All Quiet on the Western Front just because of all the shortlists it made and all the awards it got at BAFTA. And then my big bold pick, just because this is all word of mouth. This is all hearing people from the Academy talking. is 13 Lives, because apparently the package they put together for that movie, showing the visual effects and the green screen work, everyone's like leaving that blown away. Because what they do, because there's only 10 movies here, they do like a bake off, they call it, where they show like a 5-minute presentation or 10-minute presentation for each of these 10 films, and the whole industry sits in and watches a presentation on each one in the same span of time. So apparently after the bake off, a lot of people were buzzing about 13 Lives and Fantastic Beasts. So I think those two could be the surprising ones that get in. So I went 13 Lives as like my 5th pick.
But Chad, did you have anything different in visual effects?
Yeah, it was that 5th spot that I had different, because I didn't know that about the 13 Lives, but I know that one thing kind of really likes to get nominated a lot of the times at the Oscars, and that's the MCU. So I went Doctor Strange too, because also I feel like the it's multiverse, so it's like a lot of the VFX there I think were pretty incredible, like the music fight and all that stuff. So
yeah,
I'm taking a chance on that one.
Of the 3 Marvel movies, that's my favorite visual effects wise. I'm just a little worried because of all the visual effects people speaking out about how horrible they were treated this year. I'm worried they won't vote for a Marvel film, because that's the visual effects branch. But if they're going to, that's the one you should nominate of the 3.
Yeah, it's one of those ones, because even now that you mentioned that, it kind of makes me want to change Doctor. I've basically, like, the only difference one I have is I've also got Doctor Strange, but yeah, you do bring up a good point, Dylan. Like the whole talk about visual effects artists and all that. Well, me and Dan have had the chat about visual effects and on the MCU. Like, I think Multiverse of Madness visual effects were good. And that, but it's one of those ones like, I think if I change it out, I might end up changing it out for Fantastic Beasts, just based on what Dylan sort of said.
Love it.
I'm glad we're all in agreement, though, that Doctor Strange's visual effects are better than Black Panther's, because a lot of people, I'm looking at Gold Derby now, have that in their 5th slot. And to be honest, the first one didn't get nominated for visual effects. So, and I don't think the second one's visual effects are any different than the first one's. So I'm glad we're all on the same page of just not picking that.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those ones, like, I think I had 13 Lives in here at one point, and I switched out for All Quiet because of BAFTA, because it's one of those ones like, because quite often they do have at least 1 or 2 of the subtle visual effects stuff in here, and I think All Quiet and even Top Gun Maverick is going to fill in those things. But Dan, like, anything? Did you have anything different in visual effects?
No, I have the same 5: Avatar, Top Gun, The Batman, All Quiet, and 13 Lives. And we just had this conversation yesterday, Dylan. That's so crazy that you said that, because they separate the visual effects into multiple categories, and they had like the subtle. What was it called, Malcolm? The subtle
supporting visual effects.
Supporting visual effects.
And I told Malcolm, I said, Malcolm, keep an eye on 13 Lives, because they recreated the caves and a lot of this stuff, and it doesn't even look like that they recreated. It looks like they're in the caves, they're going down in the water, the whole night. I'm telling you, this movie was a freaking great movie.
Yeah, it reminds me of Titanic, like all the water stuff in that, like the visual effects presentation of it.
Yeah, and that's where the water and Wakanda First. What the heck is going on? This water's all murky, and it's like, dang it, man.
But moving on from visual effects, we have got best sound. Chad, what are the 5 you have for best sound?
I have probably what is the front runner here, Top Gun Maverick. The other one, Avatar: The Way of Water, Elvis, All Quiet, because that's a big technical one, and then the Batman.
I've got 4 out of the 5. The 5th one I had is Babylon. Like, say what you want about that movie. Like, I think the sound and stuff, like, that they have in the movie, where it's the big parties and all that, I think it's really good. And I think it's been nominated a few places for sound. I don't know, but yeah. So I've got the Top Gun Maverick, Avatar, All Quiet, Elvis, and then Babylon's my 5th one. But Dan, what did you have anything different in sound?
Yeah, I had Everything Everywhere All at Once. I think it's got great sound, and I think it plays into the movie and the various multiverse jumping and all the different craziness that goes on in that movie. But I could see something else in there, and I might change my fifth one. I'll have to decide. It's going to be a last minute decision if I change it. But the sound in Batman and the Batman is phenomenal. But I'm wondering, I don't know if they're going to go that way or not. I really did love the sound, and especially with the chase scene. You know, oh, what great
Batmobile,
sound!
And Dylan, did you have anything different in sound?
I'm the same as Chad. I have the same 5. Yeah, those seem like the front runners. The 5th slot is the one that's like kind of up for grabs, but I think the Batman will
Yeah.
get it. It didn't get BAFTA, but it got the Cinema Audio Society, and it got the Motion Picture Sound Editors Award. So I think having those 2 is pretty good. So I'm going Batman.
But
Yeah.
I do think if the 5th spot doesn't go to the Batman, I think you guys definitely have some solid picks there too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just to go backwards, because I just saw that this question in here before. Going back to visual effects, another dark horse that I've heard a lot about that could sneak up is Nope. That's another one that I've heard a bit about as well.
It should.
It should be. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gordy, man.
But
That look real.
moving on to best song, and this is probably one we might actually have the same 5. But for me, I've got "Hold My Hand" from Top Gun Maverick, "Lift Me Up" from Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, "Natu Natu" from Triple R, "Shao Papa" from Pinocchio, and "Carolina" from Where the Crawdads Sing. These are the 5 which was nominated at the Golden Globes. They've sort of been popping like a lot. Seem to be the 5 which seem to be coming up a lot in these predictions. But Dan, did you have anything different apart from out of those 5?
No, and I moved from 3rd place in my predictions up to 1st place. Natu 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 from RRR. Even though it's 39-10 odds compared to the other guys that are all better odds, I still moved it up to 1st because it's just too good now to not predict Natu Natu to win the whole thing. Even though the odds that it's going to beat Taylor Swift, Rihanna, and Lady Gaga is ridiculous. That is just ridiculous.
It's awesome.
But Dylan, what did you have different?
So I'm a Swiftie, but I'm predicting the Taylor snub, and here's why. 1, they didn't put her short film in the short list, which makes me think the Academy's not all goo goo gaga over Taylor Swift. They don't usually go by personality, by celebrity, but there are certain people who become Academy Award celebrities that aren't necessarily mainstream celebrities, and one of them is Diane Warren.
Yeah,
Diane Warren has been nominated for, I don't know the actual number, 13. I have it. 13 Oscars, has not won. And every year, there's a movie that comes up that people are like, what is that movie? Like last year, the movie 4 Good Days. Anyone remember that movie? Nope. But she still got a Best Song nomination. What about The Life Ahead? Nope. What about Breakthrough or Marshall? I know I've heard of Marshall. The Hunting Ground, Beyond the Lights. These movies that are nowhere else in the Oscars, but she gets nominated every time. So I really think Tell It Like a Woman, the song from the movie Applause, Applause from the movie Tell It Like a Woman. That's the thing. I've never seen the movie, so I don't even know what the movie's called. But that is my 5th slot. So I have the 4. I have Natu, Lady Gaga, Rihanna, Chow Papa, and then I have Diane Warren getting that 5th slot just because if she shows up on a short list, she's getting nominated. That's my philosophy as an Academy member. I think they just see Diane Warren, they say, "Oh, cool, let's nominate her again. Maybe she'll win someday." And I don't know if she'll ever win. She should have won for "I Don't Want to Miss a Thing," the one she wrote for Aerosmith.
Oh
She should have
yes,
won for that for Armageddon.
holy shit, love that movie.
She didn't get the win there, and I don't know if she'll ever win. But I could see her retiring or passing away with 20-30 nominations to her name.
No, she's the Susan Lucci. She's the Susan Lucci. Definitely, Dylan. She's the Susan Lucci. But she's going to win next year. She's not going to win this year. She's going to win next year for the song from 80 for Brady. I'm telling you right now, that song's getting nominated, and it's going to win next year at the Oscars. It's got Dolly Parton, Belinda Carlisle. It's got all these great singers involved. Gloria Estefan involved in singing it. She's not going to win this year. She could get nominated, though. You could be right.
I was going to say, though, tough cuts for me. Everything, Everywhere, the song. I love David Byrne. I love the Talking Heads, so I would have loved for that to get nominated.
Yeah.
But I love LCD Sound System also for that White Noise song. But I just don't think they're on the radar. But I'm going Diane Warren over Taylor Swift. I would love to see them actually fight in real life. But for this nomination, I want to see them fight it out, and I think Diane Warren's going to win that fight.
But Chad, did you have anything different in song?
Yeah. No, I mean, I think Dylan has a really good point about Diane Warren, and I remember being baffled last year, like, what is this? But I actually kind of enjoyed that song, anyways. But that being aside, I'm still going with my heart here, and as much as I also love David Byrne and would love to see him get a nomination, I'm going LCD Sound System with White Noise, New Body Rumba, and
Nice.
just the reason
song.
why is
Good
because
song.
I think it was so well utilized. I think that's one of the best scenes of last year. Is at the end of that film in the supermarket. I won't say much more about it, but if you haven't seen that movie yet, at least
Don't
check it
see
out
it.
for that scene because it's incredible.
Don't see that movie.
And I
Damn,
adore
come on.
LCD Sound System. So
That movie sucks.
I don't know what's
I
going on.
love that movie.
Wait,
Love
does it
that movie.
really?
Awful.
Have you
like
seen
that
it, Chad?
movie.
Awful.
I love
Yeah,
it.
I like that movie.
I
Yeah.
like
Hate that movie. Hate that.
Anyway, yeah,
Wow.
yeah. Look, as much as I hate that Dylan could be right about Diane Warren, I just had to look this up. In the last 10 years, does anyone know how many times Diane Warren was nominated?
10 times.
No, it was actually 8.
8 out of the last 10 years.
Well, okay,
Wow.
okay,
come on.
okay. One of them doesn't count because it was an academy, like an honorary Academy Award, in the 2022 year. But like she was nominated in 2021 in the song category for the movie 4 Good Days. She was nominated in 2020 for the Live of Head for EOC Scene, 2019 for from the movie Breakthrough, 2018 from RBG, 2017 from the movie Marshall, which she shared with Common. Now, the funny thing is, because if she gets nominated, she'll be going up against this person. In 2015, from The Hunting Ground, which she shared with Lady Gaga.
She wrote it with Lady Gaga, yeah.
And then 2014 was from a movie called Beyond the Lights. And then, like, the other times, like, she was very sort of sporadic,
Mhm.
She had a good run of nominations also from 96 to 2001. So as much as I hate that Dylan could be right,
Sorry.
Dylan, you better be wrong on that.
it's
I
one of
hope.
those.
Hey, listen, I hope so because I love Swift. I love T Swift. I love David Byrne. I love
Same.
LCD Sound System. I love The Weeknd, who did the song from Avatar, even though I don't think it's a good song. So like, I'd be happy
And-
with all those. Selena Gomez is on the short list. Like, I like a lot of these singers.
And
Yeah,
that's
I mean-
what I just kind of like am hoping for because I love the fact that RRR Not To is like high up, like maybe even going to win. And so that's why I'm kind of predicting on the bottom end. Hopefully LCD can get a nom because it's so weird, but it's amazing.
Yeah, I mean it's one of those ones because the other one that is kind of was on the short list that they could throw in as a randomly because I know they kind of because they did this with Eurovision, but Good Afternoon from Spirited is also on that short list. And it's one of those ones like the only reason I put Pinocchio on my predictions is because like every year there's always at least one from an animated movie on here. And I think Pinocchio is the only one on the short list because I think, but surprisingly, nothing from Turning Red didn't make the short list, which
I
is
know the Billie Eilish
Fake
songs.
boy
but she's
band?
big
What's a
too.
fake boy band? Isn't there a fake
Yeah,
boy band?
it was a fake boy band, so they're all original songs.
Yeah,
So
Billie Eilish and Phineas wrote all those boy band songs, and I think they're really catchy, really fun.
Nice.
Yeah, but again, it's she just won last year. She's fine.
yeah, I mean it's one of those ones like if I was to knock one of them out, I actually might knock out Shell Puppers. I think I am going to put Diane Ryan in there because I kind of do. I kind of think I will swap one out for that because I do like. I think the fact that she's been nominated at least 7 times in the last 10 years is really to think that the Oscars are going to go that way.
She does have a group that is definitely on her side, Malcolm. I'll give you that. I think this is going to be the year she gets skipped because she's going to win next year. For
Brady, baby.
Yeah, no, well, I mean, it's one of those ones like, I think, regardless of if she gets nominated next year, I will talk about that when we get to next year's predictions.
She's going to win next year. Mark it down. She's going to win next year.
Put it in Gold Derby on April 1st because you will get a lot of points for that.
I think, but Shell Power, I think, is one of these songs which I hate that is probably the kind of forgettable song in here.
Well, it's actually a
Um,
sweet song. I
Well,
actually
yeah,
think it's a
well,
sweet song.
yeah. I'm not saying it's not it's a bad song because I do think it's a good song. I think it's one of those forgettable ones that, unless you really figured about it, forget. And I think it's one of those ones. I think they are going to want some of these big stars to be nominated, so they'll come and sing those songs. So that's why I think
Ratings.
Taylor Swift might still get in, but I think if anything gets knocked out, it's going to be Pinocchio. So
Honestly,
anyway.
though, I think Ciao Papa, for me, actually kind of feels like one of the most Oscar-y songs every time I listen to it. And because I love Everything Is New to Me more. I think that's a more technically brilliant song. But then I listen to Ciao Papa and I'm like, of course they would nominate that one. That sounds like Oscar to me. So I don't know, but maybe it's just a feeling I have.
And real quick, Malcolm, I know we've been on this for a while, but I think the Till song is very good, and I also think the DC League of Super Pets song is very good. Not that I don't know if they're going to get nominated, but those are very good. And trust me, I've been listening to all these songs on repeat for a month, so I know all these songs. On Spotify, I have a Spotify list.
Good slate, dude.
Yeah, and if only Red the Al Yankovic movie was released in theaters, so it'd be eligible for Oscars. Because how good it would be to have Red Al Yankovic at the Oscars singing that song.
That'd be awesome.
But I think it was me that did that category. Moving on to best score. So Dan, what are the five you have?
Yeah, I have score all teed up here. Now this is I don't know what to do with this. I'm just going with my guts here. I got Women Talking, Babylon, The Fablemans, Banshees of Inisherin, and Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio for best score. I'm sure somebody's got something different.
Mm-hmm. That was my five, but I was tempted because BAFTA, they just didn't like this movie. But BAFTA took out The Fablemans and they took out Women Talking for All Quiet and Everything Everywhere. So like, I don't know what's gonna happen. But then today, I've been doing the similar thing you were doing, Dan, with the songs. I did that with the scores today. I was listening to some of them and I was like, how do you not nominate Women Talking, especially with Hildur Guðnadóttir winning for Joker, being the first woman to win for score, and then doing Tar, but also not getting eligibility for Tar because Tar was also classical music as well. So the fact that like this could be the way to honor her, I put her back in. I had her out for actually the Woman King because Terrence Blanchard, if we all remember a few years ago, Defy Bloods surprised in this category because they love Terrence Blanchard
That is
for
good
score. But I ultimately went back and put Women Talking back in my five. So yeah, I have the same five as you did.
So can you remind me what five you said, Tim? So I know I've got something different in here.
Women Talking, Babylon, The Fablemans, Banshees of Inisherin, Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, and that's our boy Desplat, John Williams.
I know the composer.
Justin Hurwitz,
Carter Burwell, and Hildur Guðnadóttir.
He's got some big names in there.
Yeah, but Chad, do you have anything different in there?
Yeah. I have the bottom four there, but at my because I have Babylon at the top. But for my fifth spot, I went Wakanda Forever because it's Ludwig, and I know the score for the original was nominated. I feel like this might also get another Best Picture nom, so I feel like it could get a lot of repeat business here with the score. Because the music's always pretty fire in the Black Panther.
Who'd you take out, Chad? You took out John Williams or Hildur?
No, I have Babylon, Fablemans, Banshees, Pinocchio, and Wakanda Forever.
You took out one,
but I haven't heard the Women Talking score, so I don't know how that is.
Yeah, I mean, I also kind of at this point don't have any faith that the Oscars will have faith in Women Talking. Yes, but so I kind of went. So I've got Babylon, Banshees, and Pinocchio. I've got Fablemans because, although in saying that, I had it there because at the time John Williams said he was going to retire from scores. Then I think he said recently that he's not retired. Pulled a Brady and said he's not retiring.
Yeah.
So big 9-0, huh? He's sticking around.
Yeah,
he's joining on Clint Eastwood here.
And then just because BAFTAs kind of came out of nowhere and put All Quiet in there. I've got All Quiet on the Western Front in mine, so I was kind of surprised that could get in.
Yeah, that's like the one category that I don't see carrying over because BAFTA over nominated that movie. I love a lot of the text, but like the score for me didn't really stand out. So like I think that's like a BAFTA thing only, but it could translate. I mean, a lot of the big surprises they start from BAFTA. So that's a good point.
I have a question though, Malcolm. I have a question for you. Have we done a group for composers? Is there a composer award?
There was a composers and lyricists.
And did what do you remember what was in there or not? I mean, I don't want you to go look it up now, but
I don't remember. I'm bringing it up in a now.
Are you
my thing
asking
is
about
this.
the HMMA, like the Hollywood music, whatever?
Well, that's a separate thing.
Oh,
no,
okay.
my thing is this: each branch nominates its group for itself, so the whole body is not nominating score. I think Women Talking was in one of those subsidiary groups, and it did good. I believe.
I hope so. I mean, I love it, but yeah, Black Panther. I forgot he won for that first one.
Yeah,
so
but this one's not even close to being as good as that one.
Yeah. But yeah, I think I've found it.
I mean,
so for Score for Studio Film, they had Pinocchio, Banshees, Nope, The Batman, and Don't Worry, Darling for.
Damn it! That's right.
That was Studio Film. Yeah, and it's one of those ones that I know I've had this talk before because I know Dan was really upset about Batman not even being on the short list.
That's right, Greg Fraser. But it's Giacchino. Go ahead.
I want to see a school by Greg Fraser now, but it's just one of those. It's just one of those things that and I don't know how they do score, whether they get played a segment of it or if that's come from them watching the movie. But I think the score was kind of lost in the shuffle every time they did Ave Maria throughout the movie. So I think that people may have mistaken that as part of the score. So I think that's kind of why maybe it didn't get any love. But so with
you're right,
that,
you're correct. You were correct on that movie. One, Malcolm. I'll give you credit for that.
Yeah. But moving on to best production design, and I think we're on to Dylan. Dylan, what is the 5 you got for production design?
Yeah, for production design, I went with. Actually, this one's a little bit more clear cut. Okay, Babylon, Elvis, Avatar: The Way of Water, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, and The Fabelmans. They got Critics'
That is
Choice,
the 5 I've got.
AGG, and SDSA. Yeah, I feel good about those.
But Chad, what do you have anything different in production design?
Yeah, the only thing I have different is I did put All Quiet because it's like, war movie in the trenches and all that stuff. But I might just change it to The Fabelmans because I think that's a pretty big favorite.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Dan, anything different in production design?
I got Babylon, Black Panther, Avatar, Elvis, Fabelmans. Is there something different there?
No, they're 5. Like Chad is the only one with something different in production design.
All right, good.
Just changed it.
Well, yeah, but also that's a good point though, because like BAFTA, it's going to be one of two things. It's either going to be that BAFTA predicted the All Quiet love here, or BAFTA was like an outlier and just loved All Quiet more than everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
Like if they really did truly love All Quiet the way the industry here, the Academy loved All Quiet, it makes sense that it would pick up production design because, like Chad said, it's a war film. They nominated 1917 here, like. They love their war battlegrounds and all that stuff. So I would not be surprised if it shows up.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think it's one of those ones because, and it's like, I was tempted to try and go All Quiet for a lot of these. And then I was like, what am I going to knock out for it if I want to try and get it in? So ultimately, I didn't do that. And I think it's one of those ones like, I think the BAFTAs is like, people complain about the Oscars being biased towards certain type of movies. I think that it's different. Like, same can kind of be said for the BAFTAs. They tend to maybe be biased to maybe European movies, which is why All Quiet got as much love as it did, because it is a German movie. But moving on to not makeup and hairstyling, makeup and hairstyling. Chad, what are the 5 you've got?
Yeah, the 5 for this I have are The Whale, Elvis, The Batman, All Quiet, and Wakanda Forever.
I've got 4 of the 5. I don't have All Quiet in here, although I wouldn't be surprised with it being a war movie, and for that reason. But I went Babylon in the 5th spot here, just because I think the makeup and hairstyling is really good in that movie. Dan, did you have anything different in makeup and hairstyling?
I have The Whale, Elvis, Batman, All Quiet, and Black Panther, Wakanda Forever.
Which is the same as what Chad had. Dylan, did you have anything different?
Yeah, I had the first 4 the same. So The Whale, Elvis, Batman, All Quiet. I didn't pick Black Panther because the first one didn't get makeup, and I just feel like, again, it's kind of like the thing with visual effects. It's like, is this any different in terms of makeup? I think there's a little bit more makeup because of Namor, but I also think the makeup branch wasn't crazy about it in 2018, so I don't know if they'll be crazy about it here. It's definitely possible for sure. I went with Amsterdam only because it also got the costume BAFTA nomination. I just think Amsterdam is one of those movies where, because it didn't get good reviews, everyone was like, it's not going to get nominated for anything. But the fact that it showed up on the short list and it has the Makeup and Hairstyling Guild nomination, it has a little bit of buzz because the makeup and hairstyling is undoubtedly the best part. I mean, the scar on Christian Bale's eye, all that stuff. And David O. Russell, while no one really likes him, his movies get nominated for something usually. Even Joy got nominated for something. In American Hustle got nominated for a lot, and Silver Linings Playbook got nominated for a lot. So, like, I think the Academy likes David O. Russell more than the general public. And Amsterdam just felt like the movie on the short list that, like, is respected enough to nominate, but not something like Blonde, which also got Makeup and Hairstyling Guild, but also might not be as respected as a film, or something like Crimes of the Future, which is on the short list, that it would be a really cool nomination because of all the body horror and all the effects with the makeup, but is just not getting in any of the guilds. So I think Amsterdam has enough guild support, and it's another one of those, like, I just wanted to be bold and pick something different, because I'm looking at Gold Derby now, and Amsterdam is not high, so I'm probably going to lose a point there, but hey, I'm going with my gut this year. I'm not going by Gold Derby. But Black Panther could very well happen. I would not be surprised, but I was surprised when they didn't nominate the first one, so I'm just preparing for that again. But I have no idea if Black Panther Wakanda Forever is going to play better or worse than the first one. It's really hard with sequels to tell. So that's a good pick. Yeah. Yeah,
I mean, you do make a good point about Amsterdam maybe sneaking in here, and I wouldn't be too upset if it did. I think with Black Panther, I think I think the added things of Namor and the Talakian's style of, like, makeup and hair and all that, I think
that's why I picked it too.
That's a good point,
could be enough to push it in here. And it could be partly because of we didn't nominate you last time for it, and we want to reward you for the makeup for your sequel and all that. Moving on to editing. The 5 I have is I've got Top Gun Maverick, Everything Everywhere All at Once, Elvis, Babylon, and the Avatar: The Way of Water. Dan, anything different?
Everything Everywhere, Top Gun, Fabelmans, Elvis, Avatar.
That is exactly what I had. Dylan.
Yeah, we're a little different. I went with the BAFTA 5, so I do have Top Gun, Everything Everywhere, and Elvis, but then I put Banshees of Inisherin and All Quiet. I feel like Banshees is like kind of the nomination where it doesn't feel like there's a lot of editing, but because they love the movie so much, they recognize just the editing is like almost like a sub best picture kind of, because editing a lot of the times is like a lot of best picture contenders. So I think they're going to do that. And All Quiet, just because of the push BAFTA gave it, I put it in my 5, but the ones you guys brought up are all Critics' Choice nominated. So like it could very well happen, but I went Banshees and All Quiet for the other 2 spots.
Chad, anything different in film editing?
Yeah, I actually have one of Dylan's he just said, and then so I'll go through them. Top Gun Maverick, Everything Everywhere, Elvis, All Quiet, and Avatar 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and and it's one of those ones, like, especially when it comes to Babylon, like, so we all know the Oscars tend to love the movies with most editing in that, and it's just one of those ones with Babylon. Like, I talked about this scene there, but I think one of the scenes that really showcases the editing in Babylon, I think that's the one where Margot Robbie's being directed on set, and you've got Diego Calva's character sort of speeding through the streets, getting to that camera store, and like him stopping just as the director said cut on the Margot Robbie set. I think the way they perfected that timing and all that, I think it was just something that's kind of I think really good. But moving
That's a good
on,
point. Well, on that note, Malcolm, though, like I think you're talking about really great edited sequences. I think if they were going by like showing a package of edited sequences, I think it has a good shot. The only problem is a lot of the people who don't like it, their complaint is that it's too long, and I think that's the downside to the editing. Is yes, there are great edited sequences, but the film itself needed some editing down to be a shorter film, maybe a little longer. That's also why I didn't put Avatar, even though Avatar is beautiful. I feel like a lot of people are going to be like, it was so long, it could have used a little bit more editing. But again, like I don't know. But Babylon does have great edited sequences, as does Avatar. So like those are some really good picks. I went with Banshees, even though it's so quiet. I don't know if it's gonna. It's all quiet. It's so under the radar, the editing, that I'm a little worried. But I think Belfast got nominated for editing, right? And that's kind of what Banshees gives me the vibe of, something that's like not in your face, but it's there. The editing's there. But I don't know.
yeah, I mean, there's always some of the like those more subtle editing ones that do slide in there. But moving on to costume design, Dan, what do you have?
I have Elvis, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Woman King, and Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris.
I've got 4 out of those 5. But Dylan, what do you have anything different in there?
I think I have 3 of. No, I have 4 of the 5. I have Elvis. I actually have Babylon in my 2 spot. I know Dan didn't bring up Babylon, but I have Babylon. I think the costumes in there are gorgeous. Black Panther, it won last time it was nominated, so I think it'll also get in for costumes. Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris, a movie about costumes. Love that nomination. I didn't think it would happen, but the BAFTA solidified it for me. And then I went The Woman King because it got Critics' Choice. It got the Costume Guild nomination, and if they're going to nominate Black Panther, I think it's a similar thing. It's like you got the tribal stuff. You're creating a world with the costume. So I went Woman King as my slot.
Chad, did you have anything different in costume design?
I think I actually have exactly what Dylan has, just maybe in a different order. I have Wakanda Forever, Elvis, Babylon, The Woman King. And the one that I hope should and maybe hopefully will win is Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris, because I think it's incredible.
I agree.
Yeah, it's one of those ones like I know Mrs. Harris is about costume and all that. I get that. I'm not that sold on it getting into the Oscars.
Maybe.
I have Babylon. Like for me, it's just one of those ones. Like I think the costume's really good in it. And one of those ones. But yeah, I mean, I think if anything, like Black Panther will probably get in again because like Ruthie Carter's done costumes to a lot of and then as I found out, she's also did the costumes for the Disney Channel movie Teen Beach Movie. I looked up the costume.
We sometimes forget though, like these people are working artists. They need the work. And hey, if the work is Disney Channel, it's the work. I mean, not everyone's getting Robert Downey Jr. money. So Ruthie Carter, I support you.
But you're moving on to best cinematography. Dylan, what is the 5 you have?
I have I have Top Gun Maverick, Empire of Light, which I didn't think would happen, but BAFTA kind of sold me on. The Batman. Sorry. I'm just so used to saying the BAFTA, but the Batman. All Quiet on the Western Front, and Elvis. ASC, the American Society of Cinematographers, usually goes 4 for 5, and therefore that I'm sticking with are Top Gun Maverick, Empire of Light, Batman, and Elvis. And then they also nominated Bardo, but I think Bardo, if it was a better contender in international film, I would have considered it. But Bardo, I had missing out in place of All Quiet, which I think makes a lot of sense. It's a war film. They love it. So yeah, I'm going with 4 of the ASC picks and then All Quiet instead of Bardo.
So Chad, what do you have? Do you have anything different in cinematography?
Yeah, I have Avatar 2. So I have Top Gun Maverick, All Quiet, Avatar 2, Fabelmans, and Elvis. But I kind of do want to put the Batman in there. So you think I should switch it for Avatar 2, you said, was the one?
Oh, for me, no, I put it in place of Bardo. So the ASC 5 was Top Gun, Empire of Light, Batman, Bardo, and Elvis, and I swapped Bardo for All Quiet. So
right,
that was my
okay.
swap. So you also have the Fablemans getting. You have the Fablemans and Avatar instead of Batman
Right.
and Elvis. Yeah.
No, I have Elvis.
Oh, maybe All Quiet, or do
I have All Quiet.
you have Empire of Light?
No.
Oh, that's the one. Okay, so yeah, you have Avatar and Fablemans instead of Batman and Deacons.
Yeah. So
Oh.
I only have two of what Dylan had. I've got Empire of Light because Roger Deakins.
Yeah,
and I've got Top Gun Maverick, which is kind of popping up everywhere. The ones that I've got different is I've also got Avatar: The Way of Water. And I've got the Fablemans, and I've got Tar in here, but
Ooh.
it's just one of those ones like I threw in because I mean I saw it for the first time yesterday, and I didn't change anything. Like whether or not I bump it out last minute or not, I don't know. I'll probably have a look at this before later today and see if I want to change anything out. But yeah.
The Batman is also Greg Fraser, who did Dune, so he's coming off a win. So they might like him.
Okay.
Yepper.
I mean, it's one of those ones like I'm kind of not confident it's I can't get in again because I actually thought the cinematography was part of the reason I didn't like the man that much. But Dan,
I got Top Gun, Everything Everywhere, All Quiet, Avatar, and the Batman. I do not have Empire of Light, and I love Roger Deakins, but that movie has been getting crapped on. Nobody is nominating that movie, and I hate to say it, I cut out the man, the legend, the man, the myth, the legend, Roger Deakins. I love the movie. Nobody else is liking this movie, and I don't understand why. But I think he's just not getting in.
BAFTA nominated Critics' Choice and American
BAFTA,
Society
British.
of Cinematographers.
He's British. BAFTA, British.
Critics' Choice nominated cinematographer.
Yeah,
the name, Roger Deakins. I'll put him in there. I don't think these guys, the cinematographers, are going to vote on this, and I don't think they're going to vote on that one this year. I just don't. I think they're going to give the love somewhere else. I just don't think Roger's getting in.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those ones like who knows, because I mean, it's one of those ones like, well, yes, like you can not like the movie, whatever. Yeah, well, no, I'm not saying, I'm not talking about you specifically, Dan. I'm talking about sort of the general public, like, well, or people vote that they may not like the movie, but they may think that Deakins did a good job with the cinematography, so it could still slide in because I think Dylan, you said it got into the cinematographers guild.
Yeah, there are only two movies that got all three. It was Top Gun and Empire of Light are the only two to get BAFTA, Critics' Choice, and American Society of Cinematographers.
Yeah,
Batman missed Critics' Choice, Elvis missed Critics' Choice, and All Quiet only got BAFTA. So this category is all over the place because there's people dominating at different places. I think any of the five that all of us have said can get in. Even Babylon could get in. Maybe even Banshees. I really don't know. This could be a weird we go 2 for 5 each. It could be random.
Yeah, it could be. It could be.
Yeah, no, it's definitely one of those ones one
of the most contentious categories. Actually, it really is. I think me, Malcolm, and I talked about that yesterday.
But moving on to original screenplay, Dylan, what 5 do you, no, Dylan you went first on cinematography, didn't you?
I did. So it's Chad's turn.
Chad, what 5 do you have for screenplay? Original screenplay.
I have Everything Everywhere, Banshees, Fablemans, Tar, and Triangle of Sadness. I hope Banshees wins.
Yeah, so I think I've got all 5 there. I'll just quickly go over it. I've also got Everything Everywhere, Banshees, Fablemans, Tar, and Triangle of Sadness.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those ones like Triangle of Sadness is one of those that sadly is people want it to get more love than it's getting. It's just not getting it. But yeah, Dan, what do you have for screenplay?
Screenplay. Original, right? We're at original. I have The Banshees of Inisherin, Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Fablemans, Tar, and Triangle of Sadness.
And Dylan, anything different?
I think this is the first time we're all unanimous. I think that's it. That's the BAFTA 5. That's the 5 that's getting in anywhere. I really don't know what else could be in. Maybe Babylon if it gets Best Picture, and because it's Damien Chazelle. But I really don't see any other movie getting in, especially after Sun got no BAFTAs except for I think actor.
British film.
Yeah.
British film.
Oh, and British film. But because if After Sun had gotten the BAFTA for this and it had gotten director for Charlotte Wells, I would have predicted it. But I think After Sun not doing as well at BAFTA as it was expected to, I think that cemented Triangle of Sadness above it. So it makes me sad because I do like After Sun a lot.
It's one of those that I wish Writers Guild of America came out at the same time as everything else, but it comes out the day after the Oscar nominations. So we can't use that as a
and even Writers Guild this year, they're so strict on who could become a member or not. Like I don't even think Tarantino is a member of the Writers Guild. Like there's so many directors that are just ineligible. Like there's so many screenplays that are not eligible every year for Writers Guild that even then I don't even know how predictable that is anymore.
No, Chad started that.
Oh, did he? Okay.
Yeah. So for me, for best adapted screenplay, and this is one that we may go 5-5 again, or there's going to be one difference. But for adapted, I've got She Said, The Rail, Living, Women Talking, and All Quiet on the Western Front.
Yeah. Okay.
But Dan, do you have anything different in there?
You know, I'm sticking on the Ryan Johnson train. I'm hoping he squeaks in here because he deserves it, in my opinion. That script is, as they say, it slaps. That script slaps, and or whatever the hell they call it. Why am I trying to be woke or something here? Jesus, what's wrong with me?
I don't know.
Women Talking, The Whale, Living, Glass Onion. She said.
So apparently talking about Ryan Johnson as well. Dylan, what do you think different?
Malcolm, I'm with you. I have She Said, The Whale, Living, Women Talking, and All Quiet. I just think Ryan Johnson I thought was a lock a month ago, but then missed Golden Globe, missed the USC scripter, missed BAFTA. He's missing everywhere, and I'm shocked because I think Glass Onion, like Dan said, is a great script. It's just he's missing everywhere but Critics' Choice, and the critics very much love Glass Onion, so I'm worried that the industry just doesn't like Glass Onion as much as the critics because it hasn't been getting in everywhere else, whereas the other ones, except for All Quiet, which only got the BAFTA, but again, I think All Quiet's just on a rise, and the fact that All Quiet, I think, is a more likely Oscar nominee for Best Picture than Glass Onion, I put All Quiet over Glass Onion, but I think the other four are safe. She Said, The Whale, Living, and Women Talking, I think are all safe.
Yeah, I mean, because I think, did All Quiet get the USC scripter? Or
All Quiet did not. USC scripter went to She Said, Living, Women Talking, and Top Gun. Top Gun was the only place it picked up a screenplay nomination. So.
Yeah, and I think the other one that could sneak in there, which I don't think no one's talking about. No one's talking about, which is Pinocchio. I think that's another one that could be some. That was a USC scripted one that sort of.
Oh, that as well. Yes.
Yeah, but Chad, did you have anything different in adapted screenplay?
Yeah, I had a little bit of a mix. I don't have like the whole like top 4 lock thing. I have a few of them. I have Women Talking, The Whale. I do have Glass Onion in there. I have All Quiet as well. And then I'm going with, I hope this one actually gets a nom because I adore it, Top Gun Maverick. Because not a lot of people like think that one is a big screenplay movie, but I think it's just a brilliant screenplay. So I'm hoping that one, they see that and go, psych, we're going Top Gun.
Well, yeah. With Top Gun, I think it's one of those ones like there may be some people in that writers branch that they may sort of says like, is Top Gun really an adapted screenplay? But as well, yes, like when it comes to adapted, like I still was like really unsure, like why is Glass Onion and Top Gun really getting these contentions for adapted? But it's one of those ones like because they're based on characters from other movies, they count and adapted for whatever reason, even though like it's still an original kind of script. Like
Chad makes a good point though, also of just like Top Gun's gonna get nominated a lot of places, and it's gonna be a Best Picture contender. Whereas like movies like Living, She Said, maybe like The Whale might not get into Best Picture. So it's like maybe Top Gun, because it's gonna be a Best Picture movie, might get a little bit more stock because of that. Living is the one I'm like agonizing over because like it makes sense, but I'm also like I don't know because it's literally almost a direct adaptation of Ikiru, where I'm like I don't know if they're going to respect that or if they're going to say it's just the same thing. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's one of those,
Respect.
but it's one of those ones, and Josephine sort of brings up a point that, and it's actually part of the reason why I think Top Gun Maverick might not get him, because they may see Christopher McQuarrie as like he's already got an Oscar, so we, and all that, yeah. And then one of those ones that Brian sort of pointed out, like Man Called Otto is one of those ones that, well, yes, I know people got the screener like started December, and that's one that I think is one that I don't think people really talking about. I think that people generally forget that it technically came out in 2022.
But I'll tell you, there's a couple spots where Man Called Otto could slip in, and once we get there, I'll bring it up. I will bring it up.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say it now.
I mean, based on when we're talking about the Reds, I think I know one of them.
But then
there's only 5 categories left, so
all right. Here we go. I got a big outlier here. I'll be interested to see what you guys think. I just feel strongly about this person.
But anyway, moving on to supporting actor, Dan, what do you have?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I cut you off, Malcolm. Ki-Hugh Kwan, Brendan Gleeson, Paul Dano, Barry Keoghan, and get ready, guys, Mark Rylance.
Wow.
The outfit
Mark
or
Rylance.
something else?
I'm telling you, what Mark
Bones
Rylance...
and all? Or
Yep, bones and all. Bones and all. That is a true supporting actor performance that deserves some credit. Plus, they love the number 2 at the Oscars. They love that deuce, giving people their seconds. They love it. They love it. He's doing once. Put him in there again. Maybe even sneaks in there. What a crazy upset that would be if he somehow won that thing. He's not going to. He'll be fighting for this nomination. But I just think because they love him, he's won before, and he gives a fantastic, creepy, crawly, just man, his character. You gotta love to hate his character, but you gotta love him too.
But Dylan, what did you have different?
Yeah, I mean, Mark Rylance, just one note on that. Like, I think it's kind of a similar thing to Tom Hanks, where I don't really like the character, so I thought I hated the performance, but I might need to go check it out again. That whole movie didn't work for me for some reason, and that is like my type of movie, which is more upsetting. But I have the same 4. I have Ki-Hugh Kwan, Brendan Gleeson, Barry Keoghan, and Paul Dano. And then I went with it, even though I didn't think it would happen. Eddie Redmayne, he got in BAFTA, he got Golden Globe, and he got SAG. I mean, he's gotten in everywhere but the Critics' Choice, and critics obviously are so different than the industry, where I'm like, it's a movie that not a lot of people have seen, but he's getting nominated for it. So Eddie Redmayne, they love that number 2, and they can give him a second.
The SAG is the one, Dylan. The SAG is the one that could really kick me in the backside, because the fact that the actors put Eddie Redmayne in, and I'm like, do I want to go against that massive branch?
Also, because I don't know if I consider Judd Hirsch, but I don't know if they're going to go double Fablemans and double Banshees in the same category. And I think the Banshees boys are fine. They're definitely going to get in. So I don't know if they're going to do double, but we'll see.
I'm sure Brendan Gleeson will be glad that Dylan called him fine. It's like, the Banshees boys are fine.
Fine for a nomination, like they're secure, not they're exceptional. They're more than fine.
No. I know what you mean.
Like he's fine.
He's like fine look.
Especially when he had his Mad Eye Moody Eye. The Knuckles tattoo from Paddington.
That's kind of what I was going with that joke. But Chad, did you have anything different in supporting?
Well, I just wanted to say, I guess Banshees is kind of like the 3 billboards of this year. So it's that. But
I wonder what's similar about the 2.
Right. Yeah, I have. The 5th spot, I was like, you know what? I'm going to go with an actor that probably would get nominated. Just because for who he is, and I'm going Tom Hanks in this one, actually.
Wow.
Sometimes I like to change it up, and I like to go, you know what Wouldn't it be great if Tom Hanks got nominated for that role?
I was gonna say,
So
I thought
I go
with
like,
what your
why
lead up,
not?
I thought you were going Brad Pitt because the same thing could happen. It's like it's Brad Pitt, it's Tom Hanks. I thought you were gonna throw because those two. It's the same
I do
idea
love
of like
Brad Pitt,
yeah,
but
but it's
you
the
know,
same idea of like, oh, they're a favorite, they're a veteran. Let's throw them in. It's a fifth
Didn't
slot. So
didn't
that could very
yeah
well happen for Tom Hanks.
yeah didn't Brad Pitt get into somewhere for supporting?
Just Globes. That's it.
Yeah. So for me, like the four that I'm really confident in is Kiki Kwan, Brendan Barry, and Barry and Eddie Redmayne. Ironically enough, now I've still got Paul Dano on my prediction. The only reason I've got him fifth is like he did miss at the BAFTAs, but yet. As I put in my note for my reasons for that is just because I did put that reminded myself that the BAFTAs tend to skew more British anyway. So it's kind of the reason I didn't have him higher, but I do think Paul Dano is kind of a lock at this point. And
I hope so.
like,
He should be.
yeah, well, it's one like I think if there's going to be an upset and a surprise somewhere, unfortunately, I think it could be Paul Dano. But I don't want to manifest that into the world. But so that's why I didn't take him out completely. But yeah, like some of the surprises that could happen, like Tom Hanks for Elvis could get in. Which honestly, like have Tom Hanks being the person to get both Razzie and Oscar for Elvis, like this
Hillbilly
wow.
Elegy. Glenn Close did it.
And I think Leto did it too for House of Gucci, didn't he? Wasn't
I think he
in
got snubbed at the Oscar, but he was predicted to. He got SAG for it.
Yeah, but yeah, but moving on to supporting actress, and who started that? I think
It's
Dylan
should
started.
be Dylan next.
Oh, okay. For supporting actress, I have Carrie Condon for The Banshees of Inisherin. I have Angela Bassett, who might be the frontrunner for Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. I have Hong Chow for The Whale, and then I have both Everything Everywhere All at Once ladies, Jamie Lee Curtis and Stephanie Hsu.
That is the five. I've got Chad. Did you have anything different?
I had the two Everything Everywhere ladies, but then I don't want to give that movie that much love, so I wanted to change it out a little bit at the end with my fifth spot. And I'm like, somebody I think should get nominated for this, if not win, is Janelle Monáe, so I threw her in there.
In place of which one?
Stephanie Hsu.
But Dan, do you have anything different in supporting actress?
Bassett, Condon, Curtis, Sue, and Chow.
Yeah, that is the same five that.
But I do have something I want to add to this category. All right, guys. So a couple of years ago, and this is the most recent thing that has happened.
I think I know.
You had a movie called. You had a movie starring Daniel Kaluuya. What the hell is that movie called?
Judas and the Black Messiah. Yeah.
Judas and the Black Messiah, where Daniel Kaluuya was the front runner all year long for Best Supporting Actor. He then went on and won for Best Supporting Actor. But somehow or other, they were campaigning. What's his name?
Lakeith Stanfield.
Lakeith Stanfield and Best Lead Actor. But the Oscars, the acting body, or whoever votes for these, put him into supporting actor. And I think they said, no, Keith, you're supporting and Daniel supporting. There is no lead actor in that movie. And I believe that's what's going to happen here. I think the acting branch is going to say, no, Michelle, you're not the lead actress in this movie. You're a supporting actor in this movie, and we're putting you in supporting, and that's going to knock somebody out, and it might even take the award away from Angela Bassett. I don't think it will, but it could, and I believe that is what is going to happen tomorrow morning.
Dan, I thought about it. I was so close because Kate Winslet was campaigned as supporting for The Reader, got nominated as lead for The Reader, and won for The Reader. So I'm totally on that wavelength. My only worry, though, is that because of Lakeith Stanfield, the difference was that they campaigned him in lead and he went supporting. Oh wait, I guess Michelle's
She's
doing that too.
campaigning
She is
lead,
supporting.
and they're going to
Okay,
put her in
okay, okay. Yeah,
supporting.
no, you make a good point.
Same
Yeah,
thing.
I have her right on the bubble at number 6. My only worry is that they just don't love the Fablemans as much as we thought, and they just don't nominate her all together. Heartbreaking spoiler alert, I don't have her getting nominated anywhere, which is crazy, but I do. I have her snubbed in both, but she's like my number 6 in both. So
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those ones. Like with Michelle Williams, like I think she's good in the Fablemans. I think it's I kind of disagree with her being supporting. I do actually think she is like a lot of the movie does tend to surround like her. Like, well, yes, like the main plot of the movie is about
The son.
Sammy and all that, but I think I personally don't think she's not so she's real a supporting either. I think she's kind of a little bit of a lead, but it's one of those when it comes to ensemble movies, it's really hard to pick out like supporting and lead, to be honest.
it reminds me a little bit of like Troy Kotzer, where like he is a main part of Coda, but he is still the supporting role because it is still about the girl, even though he's in a lot of screen time. He is in more screen time than a lot of lead performances are. It's just he is a supporting character in the overall protagonist story. So I get the whole Michelle Williams thing. Is she a lead of that movie? Is she supporting? I think she's supporting because I think it is about Sammy Fableman. She is supporting his story.
Yeah.
I think especially when he goes to school, that cements it because that whole third act, she's not in because he's at school. She's in one scene when he's in the kitchen, but he's at school. So like he is the lead and she is supporting his journey. If she's a lead, so is Paul Dano. That's my thinking. But
Yeah, I mean it's one of those as I said, it's one of those tricky things that, but the one that I think that none of us sort of predicted that it could come out of nowhere, that and that's the one that's been popping up a few places, and that's Carey Mulligan. Like I think she is probably like for me, she's probably the one that I've probably got at the 6th spot, and I think and it's like sad to say, but it's just one of those ones. Like I think if anyone gets knocked out of what we predicted, I sadly think it's going to be Stephanie Zhu. Because it is good.
No, I want you to talk, Malcolm. Talk, because I have a counter to what you're saying.
I'm getting that. I mean, it's one of those ones like while Jamie Lee Curtis is the one that's getting the recognition everywhere else, Stephanie Zhu like has been missing a couple of places, so it's going to be one of those tricky things when it comes to supporting. Like and I think if Carey Mulligan takes one of the spots, she's going to take one of those everywhere ladies out. But Dan, what are you going to say?
My thing is this: so you switch Michelle Williams to supporting. What makes you think they can't put Carey Mulligan in lead? Because she is the lead, and she said she's not supporting.
It's kind of the opposite. It's the opposite of Michelle Williams, where Michelle Williams is lead but should be supporting. Carey's supporting should be lead.
Bingo.
Yeah,
everybody's happy.
I mean, once again, it's one of those ones like when we get to actress, it's going to be one of those things like who do you take out for that to happen as well? Because I mean, I think actress is pretty much kind of cemented at this point. But we'll get there when we get there. But Chad, who do you have for best actor?
For best actor, I have probably who should win, Brendan Fraser. And if not, the next one who should win is Colin Farrell. And then if not, the next one who should win, Austin Butler. And then I have Bill Nye, and I'm going for it. I'm hoping it's my other Tom Hanks, but this is a much, much better performance, I think, Tom Cruise.
I've got 4 out of those 5.
I think we all got the same 4, yeah.
Yeah, because I've got Brendan, Austin, Colin, and Bill. Because as we said, yesterday, I like those are the 4 which have been popping up everywhere, and is pretty much the common thread over all these awards. Now, for me, I want to manifest this into the world, and I'm really hoping it happens, because Tom Cruise missed out on the SAG. Who got in his place? One, Adam Sandler. And I
would love for that to happen. That would be amazing.
And here's the thing, and this is one of those ones like, because we've said it before on many occasions, like Oscars do like to do these makeup nominations on "We're sorry for missing you" for this movie. So I think that I think Adam Sandler could easily get in as a makeup thing for the Oscar going, "We're sorry for not
Uncut
missing you
Gems.
for Uncut Gems, but here come
Yeah.
being on it here. Please don't make any more bad movies," type of thing. Because that's what Adam Sandler fitted to do. Is like when you miss for Uncut Gems, like if I don't get nominated for an Oscar, I'm making another bad movie.
But then he made Hustle, and that's not a bad movie. Like he didn't follow up on his promise.
Yet.
Murder Mystery 2 is coming out this year, so
but yeah, it's. I mean, well, yes, it's one of those ones. Like I know Dan's probably going to say Tom Cruise, but Dan, what do you have different than Best Actor?
Look, I don't have Tom Cruise, and I wrote an article all about that. So why I think Top Gun Maverick is overrated, but Tom Cruise is on the Paul Newman train here. He's on the same narrative path as Paul Newman. Paul Newman, 25 years later, after The Hustler, wins the Oscar, doesn't even show up for the ceremony, wins it for The Color of Money. Who's in the movie with him? Tom Cruise. Who came out with the movie the same year? Top Gun, which blew everybody's socks off. We were all going into the danger zone when I was 12 years old. And now 36 years later, he's on that same path. But he's not going to win. I think the nomination is the win. But I just think the movie as a whole is a little bit overrated. And so I'm going to go with a movie with an actor that I think really gives a great performance in a very underrated movie that some people are seeing, some people haven't seen, and that's Paul Mescal in After Sun. I wouldn't be surprised if Tom gets in here because he's on that narrative. But I'm just going to go with the movie that I think with a guy who gives a really emotional, grounded performance, and that's Paul Mescal from After Sun. But I got the other four as well.
As soon as it's free to stream, I'll check it out.
But Dylan, do you have anything different than Best Actor?
It's funny because my 5, 6, 7 are your three. It's your three, but I went with Paul Mescal as my fifth pick because I just think that movie is so beloved by critics, and I know the audience industry doesn't always mirror the critics, but I also think getting that BAFTA nomination was big because it kind of gave that extra last boost for any last minute voters. Oh, maybe I should check this guy out. And I just think in a year where you have 4 people who've never been nominated, Austin Butler, who's brand new, but Brendan Fraser's never been nominated, Colin Farrell's never been nominated, Bill Nighy's never been nominated, and you can throw in a Tom Cruise or even a Tom Hanks in Man Called Otto could surprise because that movie is in theaters. It's making a lot of money. People might just have seen it and gone, he was great. Why not nominate him for the 5th slot? Sandler, who has also never gotten a nomination. I'd be very happy to see Sandler get a nomination. But Paul Mescal feels like just that one like lone indie nomination that pops up that not many people in the actual like public, like the general audience have really heard of, and they're going to see that and be like, what the hell is that movie? Oh, that's the guy from Normal People. Oh, I'm going to check that out. That they don't expect, but that like us as film fans are like, oh yeah, okay, like we know who that guy is. But that last spot is so up in the air. Like it could be, I honestly think if I had to like bet, I'd probably pick Tom Cruise because he's Tom Cruise, and if they love Maverick, they're going to nominate as much as they can from that movie. But I just, for the sake of having 5 first-time nominees, and because I love After Sun so much, and Paul Mescal's performance is just like shattering to the emotions, I'm gonna go Paul Mescal. But that last slot could be anything. I think Chad's gonna get it. I think he's gonna be right with Tom Cruise, but I would love to see a surprise, not because I don't like Tom Cruise, but only because I want After Sun to be recognized somewhere, and Top Gun's gonna have plenty of other places to be recognized. I really want After Sun to get something, and it doesn't look like it's gonna get screenplay. But the one to watch out for, I think, is also Jeremy Pope, The Inspection. He got the Globe nomination and has kind of trailed off since, but he was on that round table with Brendan Fraser, with Ke Huy Quan, with Adam Sandler. That round table that everyone watched was so amazing. He's there, and he's talking about his experience as a gay black man and how much this film has meant to him. If you're going to have a surprise, I think Jeremy Pope could be a surprise. But I'm going Paul Mescal as that fits.
And you hit the nail on the head, too. It's a bunch of white guys throwing a black guy, a gay black guy at that, with Jeremy Pope. I forgot all about that. I was talking about that yesterday with Malcolm. on yesterday's episode, and that's
here's a wild card though. If we're gonna go representation for diversity, Will Smith for Emancipation. I know he got a lot of criticism for his Oscar slap last year, but this could be a way of them saying we're giving you one more shot, because Apple is really pushing that film.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's one of those ones, like, we know he's not allowed at the ceremony for at least 10 years.
Oh, is he really not? Oh, I didn't know that.
I think he's not allowed to attend the Oscars for 10 years, but they have said that is not going to. He's allowed to be nominated.
All right, never mind. I don't think he'll get nominated now. I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those.
Malcolm and I have already had this discussion weeks ago, Dylan.
Yeah. Just because Antoine, I don't know how to pronounce his last name without cursing and saying the F word. Fuqua. I always want to say fucka, but that's not it. But Antoine Fuqua, I can't even pronounce it. He got Denzel his win, so he might get Will Smith another nomination.
I mean, that's the thing, like, and I think, like, I know there's a lot of a love for Paul Mescal and After Sun and all that. It's just one of those ones, like, I thought about putting him in, but he's not really getting a lot of love, a lot of praise aside from BAFTA, and it's one of those ones, like, BAFTA is more Britishly centric, so I'm not surprised that Paul Mescal got in. Like, it's one of those ones, I've got no idea who the guy is. Like, I don't even know what normal people is like. And it's one of those ones. I think the movie that, like, could get nominated that most people haven't heard of is probably Bill Nighy's movie Living, which I think is the one is that indie movie that I think that's going to fit the indie movie that no one's heard of, but they've heard of this actor.
It came out a year ago.
That's heard of.
And now it's coming out a year later.
But people know Ikiru, so
yeah.
Well, yeah. So that's probably the one that I think is going to fit that mold. But it's one of those ones, like, with the, like, if it is going to be Sandler or Mescal, like, no matter which way you go, is if it goes to SAG 5, it's going to be 5 first time nominees, which I think is it's a really cool thing that's going to happen.
Yeah, Sandler would be a cool nomination. I'd love that. Yeah.
But anyway, moving on to Best Actress, it's on me. So I've got Kate Blanchett, even though she doesn't like award shows, Michelle Yeoh, Viola Davis, Danielle Deadwyler, and she's been getting in a lot of plays. She was great as Marilyn and Ana de Armas. And look, it's one of those ones, like, while it's looking like when it comes to Best Actor, it's going to be all white guys, you're going to get a lot of diversity in Best Actress. So, so you've got that to balance out that. So, but Dan, did you have anything different in Best Actress?
Yeah, I mean, I have Kate Blanchett, Michelle Yeoh, Danielle Deadwyler, Michelle Williams, and Viola Davis. I don't have Ana de Armas, but like I said, the actors branch is going to do what the actors branch wants to do. They could kick Michelle Williams out of there. That could put Ana de Armas in there, and then bam, you have your 5 in both categories, and then we all go off and have dinner. You know, that's what I believe. I think they have a lot of respect for Viola Davis, and I think they cannot overlook Danielle Deadwyler, the narrative there of what she did with that character. And I don't know if anybody saw her in Station 11. She's really good in that on HBO Max. Very good show on HBO Max. But I am going to go out on a limb here and say that because of what Kate Blanchett did at the Critics' Choice Awards, they're going to say, okay, Kate, you don't want to win? Here you go, Michelle. 40 years. You get a gold trophy.
I thought you were going to say you don't think she's going to get nominated. I'm like,
no, she's going to get nominated. I think she's basically said, don't give me awards. I think she's still going to get nominated, but I think enough people are going to say, okay, you don't want to win? Here you go, Michelle. Here's your gold trophy.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those ones, like, the voting the nominations voting, I think, ended before the Critics' Choice was so there's not much chance for anything to change, like, with that.
The 15th of January? The voting window ended before the 15th of January?
Yeah, no, I think the I don't quite know where the lineup. I think it was probably either the same day or the day after. So I don't think it was enough time for anything to change when it comes to the nominations for Best Actress. But
Okay.
Dylan, anything different in Best Actress?
I just looked. January 17th, I think, is the last round of voting ends. So maybe they did see it, but I don't think that's going to hurt Kate Blanchett's chances of
Yeah.
a nomination.
Yeah.
I could see the winning thing, but even then, like, I still think it's one of those performances that, like, if you love it, it's your favorite, you're going to vote for it. Like, I don't think hearing her say to the critics, "Oh, I don't need any more awards," like, I don't think that's going to hurt her too bad. Maybe, I don't know. We'll talk about that at a later date. But I do have Kate Blanchett, Michelle Yeoh, Viola Davis, Danielle Deadwyler, and Ana de Armas. They got in BAFTA, SAG, and Golden Globe. Or no, sorry, Danielle Deadwyler didn't get in Golden Globe. She got Critics' Choice, but Ana de Armas missed Critics' Choice. But again, critics in the industry is so different. The industry awards have all nominated those 5, and they notably snubbed Michelle Williams from SAG and from BAFTA, and I think that was the nail in the coffin. I think it's the same thing Dan said. Michelle Williams being campaign and lead was always the mistake. Even if she is a main character, I think if she had campaign and supporting, she would have been a lock. And the fact that we're sitting here a night before nominations and Michelle Williams isn't a lock, I think is crazy. Like, because she is so good in that movie, and she's one of those people that needs a win in her career, and she still hasn't gotten one. She's like a Glenn Close or an Amy Adams at this point. She's been nominated so many times. So the fact that she might not get into this, she's my number 6. Like, that just hurts my heart. But I'm gonna go with the SAG 5, the BAFTA 5, and I'm gonna go with those 5.
Yeah. And Chad, anything different in Best Actress?
Yeah, just a little bit. I'm with Dan. I have the 2 Michelles. And I mean, I think Michelle Williams will lead in that movie personally, but maybe I'll rewatch it. I thought like a lot of that movie was about her because it was Gabrielle or Steven, like like focusing on her, like all the characters are pointed at her basically.
True.
So I'm like,
yeah. But for campaigning, though, I think it was a mistake for them to not
Yeah,
get her supporting.
probably
Because it would have been such an easy nomination, and then now we're sitting here. I thought this was a lock a few weeks ago too, but I don't know. This is sad.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those ones like, well, what you said, like, and what Chad said is the reason why I can still see Michelle as a lead. Well, if they campaigned her supporting, then it would have been easier. But like it doesn't focus a lot on Paul Dano. Like, that's the reason why I think Paul Dano as supporting makes sense.
Mhm.
Like the first part of that movie was kind of focusing on Michelle Williams as equally as Sammy. Then when Sammy went to school, like the narrative changed.
Yeah, no, Chad, that was a great point about that. Like, that makes me actually reconsider her as more of a lead now too. I'm like, oh yeah, I guess a lot of it is centered around her. Yeah.
Can't wait to talk about it if it gets nominated.
Yeah.
Moving on to Best Director, Dan, we go to you.
All right, here we go. I made a change yesterday on this one. I got the Daniels, not because my name. Steven Spielberg, Martin McDonagh, Todd Field, and Edward Berger.
Is it Burger or Berger? Do we know?
I call it Burger. I don't care. It's Burger to me.
I think like it's pronounced Berger just because I think that's the German pronunciation, but I think like unless he's watching us and gets offended by us mispronouncing his name, no one's ever going to get it right.
Okay, well, we can call him Edward Berger, and we'll call Steven Spielberg, and just like kind of flip it.
Senior Spielbergo.
That was a really bad joke. Sorry. I'm the same with Dan. I have those 5 as well. The 5th slot I was thinking might be something else. I mean, Joseph Kaczynski getting that DGA was huge. James Cameron and Boz both getting the Golden Globes was huge. But ultimately, every single year, they always nominate an international director. They did it with Cold War and Roma in 2018. They did it with Bong Joon-ho for Parasite in 2019. They did it with another round for Thomas Vinterberg, which wasn't even nominated for Best Picture in 2020. They did it last year with Drive My Car with Hamaguchi. And now I think this year the international spot will go to Edward Berger. The director's branch at the Academy likes a nominee that is international. I honestly think, though, Joseph Kaczynski is someone to watch out for because of the DGA. And a bold pick I almost thought about was swapping in Joseph Kaczynski, not for Edward Berger, but for Steven Spielberg. And I love Spielberg, and I know he won the Globe, but it just reminds me of Bradley Cooper in A Star Is Born. It reminds me of Ben Affleck in Argo, where they're winning things, but then they miss out on the BAFTA, and they weren't even longlisted on the BAFTA. Steven Spielberg wasn't even part of the long list, and that was like 20 names long. So it just makes me a little worried that they're going to snub Steven Spielberg, and I'm really nervous about it, but I'm hoping I'm wrong. So I do have Steven Spielberg in my 5, but I'm predicting if there's going to be a big shocker, I think he'll miss a la Bradley Cooper for Star Is Born or Ben Affleck for Argo. That's just my gut.
Before Chad goes, can I just make a point here? Can I make a point here? What do you think about Park Chan-wook is like the career nominee type of situation here?
It could happen. I just think if Decision to Leave were a better... I think because All Quiet is a picture contender now, I think that kind of makes that the more likely nomination. Or they could do what they did in 2018, Roma and Cold War, and nominate both Park Chan-wook and Edward Berger. I wouldn't be surprised there. That's what BAFTA did. So I don't know. Anything can happen here. This is a wide open category, I think.
Chad, did you have anything different in Best Director?
Yeah, but I do also have a question. Wouldn't Martin McDonagh also be an international director?
Searchlight.
His movie was in English. I meant like I don't want to say foreign language because foreign language is only
the category is called Best International Feature.
Films not in the English language. There's always
that's
been a
what I thought you were
director.
going to say.
That's what I meant. Yeah, that's what I meant. But Martin McDonagh, yes, is international, I believe.
Gotcha.
Director. Yeah.
The thing that I had different because I did have Field, McDonagh, Daniels, Spielberg. I'm going with the personal pick. He directed the shit out of that movie, and he should be at the top of this list. I think I'm going Joseph Kosinski.
Good pick.
DGA
DGA5 right there. That could happen for sure.
Yeah, for me, I've got the same as Dan and Dylan. I've got Spielberg, Daniels, McDonagh, Todd Field, and Berger. And it's one of those ones like I'm not that confident on Joseph Kosinski sliding in here, just because I did think about the whole fact that we do get a foreign, at least one or two foreign film may get in. But the one that could surprise that that based on our predictions is not getting a lot of love in a lot of places at the moment is SS Rahamudi for Triple R is the one that I think
true.
And I think if there's a foreign movie that gets in, I think if they want to give some more love to Triple R, I think it's going to be in Best Director, if anything. As much as I personally did not care for the movie a lot, it just felt like 3 different movies meshed into one, and I kind of got lost.
3 hours, 3 movies.
Rise, what? Something in Revolt. Rise, something in Revolt.
Revolution? Or no.
Rise, something in Revolt, right?
I don't. It's either Rise, Revolt, Revolution, or something around there.
Yeah. So there you go. 3 movies, 3 hours. There you go. Malcolm.
But I mean, that's one of those ones. Like the ones I think for sure. No, it's one of those ones because technically, if the Daniels get in like that, like they are a foreign film, like foreign director. Technically, I kind of don't know, but I mean, I think it's one of those ones. Like this is one of those ones that I think I said it yesterday. I think the 4 that are very much safe in this category, or safe-ish. We kind of don't know where the Oscars are going to go with this, but I think Spielberg, Daniels, McDonagh, and Todd, I think they are the 4 which I think are pretty much safe, and I think it's that 5th spot which is up for grabs, and that could be Park Chan-wook, that could be Berger, that could be Rahamudi, that could be Kosinski.
I found the second R, by the way. Rise and Revolt is the first and third. The second one is the noise, the lion. It's in Tigers make it's roar. Rise, roar, Revolt. Those are the 3 R's. I didn't know that. That's cool.
But yeah, moving on to Best Picture. Dylan, do you have for Best Picture?
Okay, I have Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Banshees of Inisherin, Tar, Elvis, The Fabelmans, Top Gun Maverick, because of the BAFTA push, I put it in, All Quiet on the Western Front, Avatar: The Way of Water, The Whale, and Babylon. Those are my 10 that I'm predicting. And I'm just, there's so much up in the air for those last 2 slots. I think those first 8 are safe. I think the PGA and the Hong Chow surprise nominations that have been coming lately is giving The Whale like this good boost at the end and the box office. And I think Babylon, it's this year's Nightmare Alley, where it's like early on the season, it's like, oh yeah, this is getting nominated. Guillermo del Toro, same thing here with Damien Chazelle. It's like, oh, it's getting nominated for everything, and then it starts slipping and missing places, and they're like, oh, I guess it's not. And then it shows up on Oscar morning anyway because it's a movie about movies. People love it, or the people who do love it are very vocal about loving it. So I think that's my 10. I'm gonna go with.
But Chad, what do you have anything different in Best Picture?
Yeah, I think the only one that I have that Dylan didn't is I didn't put Babylon and I put Glass Onion instead. And this is probably just a big like personal preference thing because I have to watch all the ones that are in the 10. So I'm praying Babylon doesn't get in because I never want to watch that movie. But I would love to watch Glass Onion again. So there you go. That's and I hope Banshees actually. Banshees or Top Gun Maverick wins Best Picture, to be honest.
But yeah, I didn't have All Quiet on the Western Front in here. I just wasn't I'm not that confident in the Oscars and getting All Quiet into Best Picture. But ironically, I also put Glass Onion in here. I think Babylon will get in, and I just had to quickly look it up. But if Babylon gets in, it will. I think it will replace Don't Look Up as the movie the lowest Rotten Tomatoes group to be nominated for Oscar. Because Don't Look Up is at 56%, Babylon's at 55%. So,
did we look at Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close? That might be lower.
Oh Lord!
Well,
yeah.
I think they see it like when Don't Look Up was nominated last year. I think they said it's the lowest Rotten Tomatoes.
Cool. I would have thought Bohemian Rhapsody too, but that probably got a positive.
Dan, do you have anything different? In
Extremely Loud. Sorry, Extremely Loud is 45. I just wanted to throw that out.
Oh, okay.
I have one difference. I have one difference in all you guys. And I know you guys are going to be crapping on me for it, but I'm just hoping that because it's different kinds of bodies of work, you get an entire grouping, thousands of people, and in that thousands of people, there are a lot of women, and maybe they want to get a woman-centric film like Women King or Women Talking in there, and so I went with Women Talking. We all know it's 8 women talking in a barn and a guy taking notes. But I just think they want to get something different. They don't want to get, even though it has been getting it didn't make a lot of money and it's a great film. It is really written great and it's acted great. For whatever reason, the concept isn't catching on with people. But this isn't thousands of people that are voting, not just each branch, not the acting branch or this branch. It's all the branches. And in all the branches, there's a lot of women in there. And I think a lot of them women are going to want to put Women Talking on their ballot. Check that box for Women Talking. And I think it's going to sneak in there. But I have exactly what Chad's got, except for I got Women Talking, and I got exactly what Dylan's got, except for he had Babylon. So Chad had Glass Onion, and I have.
Oh, so you took off Babylon?
Yeah, I don't have Babylon. I don't have Glass Onion, and I have Women Talking instead of those two. So that's just my theory. I was always going to be either Women Talking or the Women King, and I decided to go with Women Talking instead.
Yeah, I mean it's one of those ones like with Women Talking. I think at one point I did have it in my predictions for there. I think I took it off for something, and the only reason I'm not too sure about it is it's not getting a lot of love anywhere else. Well, yes, you do make a good point. It's just one of those ones depends on how many people have actually seen the movie. And
look, it's they have an Oscar portal, Malcolm. It's called an Oscar portal. All the movies that could potentially get nominated are in this Oscar portal. So everybody has access to this portal. Everybody can watch this movie if they want to.
Mhm.
I'm just
But also,
saying,
you got to think. I agree with that. That was always my rebuttal when someone was like, "Oh, I mean, it's just not out a lot of places." But also, The Father wasn't out at a lot of places at this time of year either. It came out
Nope.
like right before, or
March.
right after
March.
the Oscars. Yeah, The Father came out a month, like a few weeks before the Oscars, a month after the nominations were announced, and that won Best Actor and got a Best Picture nomination. So I think screeners, if they have the screeners, they're gonna watch them. So I really think I would love to see that movie get in, but I think the SAG Awards, it makes sense. It got ensemble there. It has a great ensemble. It is about the ensemble. It's like 12 angry men, but they're women. And instead of angry, they're desperate to leave and rebel against these men. But it's a very talky movie. I hope it gets in. But I just think BAFTA not putting it in would hurt it for screenplay. I mean, BAFTA not nominating it screenplay hurt it. I think PGA not having it hurt it. I think Golden Globe not nominating it hurt it. So I have no confidence, or I have little confidence, but I would hope so. That'd be such a cool nomination.
Yeah, well, no, it's one of those ones like I get it will be on the Oscar pool for people to watch. It depends on if they actually did the time to actually watch it in that
And
quarter.
being in
That's where,
theaters could help build the word of mouth to watch the screeners too. Like how many people are saying, "Oh God, I just checked out The Whale. You got to watch the screener," or "Oh my God, you guys haven't seen All Quiet. The screener's out there. Like you got to watch it." So like that could be a good point. Yeah, like the fact that
I
we're
mean,
talking
but
it's
it's
not in a
just,
lot of
but
theaters to
I
build
think it's
that
one
word
of
of mouth.
those. But I think it's one of those ones. I think when it comes to, especially on the throughout the nomination period, I think it's going to come down to because the voters are probably going to be looking at these precursors like what is coming out that I haven't seen that is getting a lot of love in these other places, and unfortunately woman talking is not getting a lot of love anywhere, so people are probably not going to see it pop up and not think of prioritizing it over, say, The Whale, which is getting a lot of love. So so I think it's that's kind of what I was getting at when I said like not a lot of people have probably seen it.
For sure.
So
well, you can say that for All Quiet on the Western Front. Who wants to watch a 3-hour German film on Netflix? You could watch it, but do you want to sit there and read 3 hours worth of German English subtitles for a German film?
To Malcolm's point, though, other awards can act as advertisements for a movie too. Like the fact that All Quiet got all those BAFTA nominations, people are probably like, "Oh, I got to check out that movie." And I think that's what Malcolm is saying is other award shows can also create buzz for then people to go check out the screeners. Just like again, like Angela Bassett getting nominated for a bunch of stuff for Black Panther. Maybe people are now watching that screener more. Or Brendan Fraser for The Whale. Maybe that's why The Whale is surging, because a lot of people are watching Brendan Fraser give these amazing speeches and want to go watch their screeners.
Yeah, because I will say All Quiet is probably the best example you could probably go with then. Just because it is nominated for it is getting love for the international side of things. So so that is getting that word of mouth through the international film branch itself. So I mean there is that. So but it's just one of those ones and I think no. As I said, I know that the best picture is long known on everyone. It's just one of those ones it getting enough love to get in. And honestly, I think if anything, I think the love for the Woman King it's going to might propel that in best picture over Woman Talking if your prediction of a woman-centric movie sighting in there is the case. Yeah. But with that being said, we'll find out how well we do in however many hours. I think it's about 12 hours at this point, so I think it's about 2:30 my time where 2:30 in the morning my time where they get announced.
That's what happens when you waste a half hour talking about the Razzies, Malcolm.
40 minutes.
I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding. No, it was good to talk about.
I mean, maybe I've thrown the Razzies to throw in the joke that the Oscar nominations get announced in 12 hours. It's one of those.
Oh, Malcolm, you did that thing where you pulled the USB out when you lifted up the mic. Still off.
Got nothing, Malcolm.
Yeah, I'm going to take it out and
use
my laptop mic. It's just one of those things that yes, I just run the Razzies because why not, and it was just something just to get that out the way, so I don't need to end on a note talking about bad movies. Like I want to start off to just slowly then we get in. But I mean, even then, like we had good discussions about some of these categories anyway. So even if it was just talking about what we have planned for the nominations, then I think it still would have been a good chunky episode. But that being said, this does bring us to the end. We'll find out in a few hours on how well we did. And then we'll be back next week to talk about the nominations. And hopefully we can get Dylan and Chad back as well. But Dan, where can people find you online?
You can always find me at my name, Dan Skip Allen, on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, and Letterboxd, and wherever else social media is, or DP Skip Allen, or From the Fourth Row. But also, I'm a film critic, and I write for two websites, one called FromTheFourthRow.com and the other called DisappointmentMedia.com. I'm covering a couple different film festivals right now, the Slam Dance Film Festival and the Sundance Film Festival. Plus, I got some good movies coming up in the near future, so can't wait to share my reviews. And you're going to see me over on the Dill Pickle Podcast Network very, very soon.
Yep.
And Dylan, where can people find you online?
Yeah, you can find me the Dill Pickle Movie Network or the Dill Pickle Podcast. We have both now, audio and visual. And Dan has been part of our Godfather series covering on that channel for Picture This, which is a show I do with this man right here, where we cover every single month in Best Picture history. We are going to be covering, hopefully, a few of these movies in 2 months' time. And I'm sorry if I talked a lot. I know I was frustrating some people here, but I'm so passionate about this, and I'm so glad, Malcolm, you and Dan, you invited me and Chad on, because Chad and I also love talking about Oscars and stuff. I know I've been doing this since I was a little kid, and Chad's getting into it, and we're so excited to be talking about these movies very soon. It's such a good, fun time to be a film fan. So thank you all for checking that out. Dill Pickle Movie Network. If you subscribe, give us a little comment and let us know you saw us, and we'll shout you out.
I'm now imagining Dylan as a 5-year-old talking about the Oscars.
Oh, it's great. When I was like, Finding Nemo for best screenplay? Hell yeah.
But Chad, where can people find you online?
Yep. Check me out over at Picture This at the Dill Pickle Movie Network, because we have a great time doing our Godfather series. We did 1972 this month. Yes. We're currently still in this month. 1974. Then we're going to skip a year and do 2022, and then we're going to do my birth year, and also The Godfather Part 3 came out that year, 1990. So check that out. It's really fun. Check out my channel. It's just Chadwick Webb, my name. We do a lot of rankings over there. We did a really huge one that lasted like 5.5 hours long, and it was all 61 Disney animated films. It was pretty great. We had 4 people on there, so it was a lot of really great conversation, and people differed a lot, but then had some of the same stuff too. We're thinking about doing some other ones too, like Tarantino, MCU Phase 4, stuff like that. So looking forward to those. Also check out the Nerd Entertainment Network, where we do a show called Welcome to Primetime. I do it with my wife Carrie and my buddy Hunter, and we just talk about horror. We rank Buffy episodes. We do a lot of really fun stuff over there. So check that out. Yeah, thank you guys so much. This was a lot of great conversation and very fun. And looking forward to the Oscar nominations tomorrow morning, and Sundance starts tomorrow. So it's a pretty big day.
Yeah, online.
Yeah.
Sundance online. I mean.
You can find me on Take View Productions, where I host Rankum. Last night we did top 12 action movies of the 90s. That poll will be going up on the Facebook page in a very short moment. Next week we're doing top 12 movies featuring a werewolf in it. Maybe the Twilight movies will get on. I don't know. We'll find out next week.
What's the category, Malcolm?
Movies featuring a werewolf.
Oh, werewolf. That's a good category. That's a good category.
Do Marvel TV specials count?
Yes, that's a movie. That's considered a movie. Look that up.
Well, I mean, we'll get into that debate off here. You can also find me all over the place. Sometimes I pop up on Picture This if Dylan will invite me.
Always. Slide in those DMs.
That was a fun episode.
but you can also find me on. I also compete in the Marvel MCU Trivia League and all that. And yeah, you can like pretty much wherever there's trivia, wherever there's lists and rankings and stuff, and tournaments, you're probably going to find me there. I'm pretty much all over the place. So yeah, but that being said, that is the end of the show, and yeah, with so see you later and keep enjoying movies.
Who's that Pokemon?
It's Pikachu!
It's Clefairy!